What is it?
Anything goes.
Because, like the off-roading, what do they call it, Jeremy? What, no, so like camping in a Sprinter van, it's like, anyway, there's another word that, yeah, anyway, I think people are so into that they would geek out on like all the stuff he does.
I tried to get a few of my buddies last year, I didn't need too much at the last minute. Asked, they're already out of town, so it's like, oh yeah, good band category.
Jordan Kurt Mason is, he's working on it. I saw him today.
How's he
Doing
doing?
his family. Yeah, he's tinkering today because he's going to Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's, we'll turn on our mics and we'll call this meeting to order. This is, Town of Alpine Town Council meeting on Tuesday, May 20th at 7:01 PM. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll
Good
call.
evening. Council Member Larson.
Here.
Council Member Burchard.
Here.
Mayor Green.
Here.
Council Member Scafidi.
Here.
And Council Member Castillo.
Here.
Mayor Green, you have a quorum of the council with all members present.
That's great. Thank you. Mr. Sanderson should be here in the next little bit, so we will, we won't hold up anything, but hopefully he'll get here. So the next order of business is to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda. Did everyone have a chance to read through that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion for approval of consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right, so moving on to reports. I'm first, really the only thing I wanted to remind everyone about is the master plan. Our website is now up and going, and Sarah has put something out on Facebook, and we have a flyer going around. But if you need the specifics on that, Sarah, is it Alpine dash what? We'll get that figured out, and we'll make an announcement very soon. If you can just let me know what that is, and by the end of the meeting, we'll make sure we mention that so everyone has it. And the first real opportunity to speak to the consultant will be at Mountain Days. But besides that, there's a survey that's going to be going live soon that we encourage everyone to get on there. And that's really kind of an in-depth survey that everyone will have a chance to respond to. It's not just for people that live in the incorporated town of Alpine. We're looking for people that, all the way to Etna and, re-subdivision and all those people. We want to get your take on the town of Alpine. So we'll get that. Did you find it?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
alpine-master-plan.com.
that's it. And that's all I had. Next, we have our clerk treasurer report. Monica.
Yeah, and so the only thing I want to say that beginning, I don't have any actual report this week. Beginning June, though, that we're going to change up the reports with having the 2 meetings a month. So Jorgensen will come in on the second meeting, this meeting of the month, and Craig, though, will be present for the first meeting so that he can give his report. My report will be at the first meeting of the month. The codes enforcement officer will also have a report at that month, at the first meeting of the month. So you'll get my report in 2 weeks.
It's likely she'll submit one in writing more often than
Correct,
not. But if
correct.
there's anything that
If
she
there's
needs to
anything
come.
going on, she may attend as well.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Sounds good. Events committee report.
Just a reminder, Monday is Memorial Day. The American Legion will be doing their remembrance ceremonies throughout, the American Legion are on our end of the valley, the VFW on the other end of the valley. Several locations where you can catch that. It's very nice to attend if you're around. 11:30 in front of the Civic Center is when they wrap up. So that's a great thing to go to. Also, we have Mountain Days coming up June 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And that's going to be a lot of fun this year. We have music on Friday night and Saturday night. The Raptor Center coming. Horse Warriors is going to do a little thing for people to see what they do.
Native American dancing.
Yes, the Native American dancers will be
Yeah.
here. All the usual things, lots and lots of vendors, lots and lots of great food coming.
Awesome. Sounds good. Engineering report. Kevin.
Mayor, council members, Kevin Mahar with Jorgensen Engineering. Project that we worked on this last month was the AMI radio read project. So we're working with them weekly on that, having meetings on that, and then they were trying to get started this week, but some of the meters didn't come in. So they're going to start pretty wholeheartedly next week, trying to get the volts and the bigger meters going, and then start doing the smaller meters as well. So they're going to start contacting clients that are out there, which ones they can get into, start making appointments so they can get in there and do that. They're going to be doing anywhere from 20 to 40 a day. So it's going to hit pretty hard. Once they start getting those in, we'll start getting reports on which ones are in. We'll start doing inspections on which ones are in and kind of a spot check on it to make sure they're doing what they need to do. So if there's anybody who sees anything, hears anything from anybody out there that, something's not going right or that's not what they thought, please have them give us a call and we can give them a call and let them know.
When will the antennas be up? Is there
The monopoles themselves?
Yeah,
It
well,
was-
like the
Yeah.
process with the radio reading.
So once you take the meter out, the old meter out, and you put the new one in, there's going to be an antenna with each and every one of them.
Yep,
So then there's going to be 2 monopoles with large 40-foot tall.
yep.
It's just like a 6-inch round galvanized pole up in the air. There's one going to be at Ferry Park, at Ferry Peak Park, and then there's going to be one at Public Works.
And
So-
until that goes up, the whole system doesn't necessarily work, or they can drive around and read it? Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
so Craig wanted to get a galvanized pole versus a painted pole, which takes another few weeks to get, but it's only a few $100s extra and it'll last longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
So they said they would let the town use their portable meter.
Right.
So they can run around anytime they want. So you can do it weekly, you can do it daily, but
Yeah.
it'll do the same collection point, except for you'll be driving around versus when the poles are done, you'll actually be able to collect it remotely.
yep. And just anyone at home that doesn't know what we're talking about, the town got a grant. The whole project was like $1.2 million, whatever. We got a grant for $750,000 from the state to replace our kind of outdated manual read meters for the water system. And now we are going to have radio meter reads going forward. So it's just another thing that's bringing us up to the 21st century.
Right. Well, it's going to be great for efficiency. I think it's going to be great for your wells. Everybody in the community will see how much they're actually using every day. You can do it every day. You can do it every month. Your irrigation, those kind of things that people like to
It helps
do.
us find cracks in the system.
Very much so.
All those great things. So.
Yeah. Yeah. We identified a few meters that we can actually get a radio on top of it that Craig's got, so we can actually start tightening the net, so to say. So all the water that comes in will be all the water that goes out. If there's a difference, you've got a leak.
Right.
And then you can start chasing that.
Right.
That's going to be important.
Yeah.
In real time.
Yes.
Yep.
You said they're going to be able to do between 20 and 40 a day?
Yes.
Wow.
And our guys are doing it And that's kind of like our in-kind, just so everyone knows.
Right.
The town had to make up the difference, like $500,000 or whatever it was in-kind, and they will allow us to use our guys to change out, so we don't have to subcontract that out. So, once we get them, like, it should go pretty darn fast, because they know where every single pit is. And so, the ones that'll take the longest are the ones that are in people's houses. So, you know, because they have to get in the crawl space, but yeah, they should be able to get that many done.
Yeah, it'll go pretty fast. Yeah.
Any other questions for Kevin? All right, thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
We'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Planning and zoning report, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good, thanks.
This is my first time doing this report, so I'm going to try to keep it high level, but if you have more questions, you can let me know. We had 5 new orders of business last week. We approved an application for a shed roof. We had 2 single-family residence applications, one of which was approved, one that we asked them to come back with more information, more of a proper survey and site plan. We had a commercial building we approved for the Alpine Valley RV Resort. And lastly, we had an encroachment application for a parking lot at Alpine Dental. We talked through that with the applicant and ultimately kind of came around to the idea that he really needs to get a proper survey of his property before determining what kind of application he actually needs, whether it's an encroachment application or a special use permit or both or neither, if he chooses not to move forward with any of that. But we didn't approve that as it was not really an application. And he should be working through that now. And Gina and Sarah helped him with some of that paperwork during the meeting. We also had a planning and zoning discussion item with someone who's looking to build an addition potentially to a non-conforming building. And that brought up a pretty good conversation about some vague language in the LDRs regarding what's an existing building, what's considered an addition, things like that. And so the Planning and Zoning Commission and Gina ultimately decided to create a running list of these kind of discrepancies or vague language we find in the LDRs so that we can keep a running list of them and bring them all up at once for adjustment in the future.
Yeah.
So Gina got that started this
That's
past
great.
week.
Yeah. We always come up with things like, why is that way? And then I'm
Yeah.
sure it gets put on some list someplace and that we, you know, forget it. But having like a centralized worksheet or whatever you guys are going to have, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Any questions?
I guess my only question was, I attended, so I got to hear it.
Okay.
Most of it. I eventually parted, yeah. Okay, so back to the dental office, because obviously that was the big discussion.
Yes, yeah.
So I didn't realize a special use permit was $1,500 plus a public, I guess, discussion. Is that just in terms of your meeting time? Because it really is, I drive by it every day, so I'll just say that. So it is an odd, just so you guys know, that it would be asphalt, mud, asphalt, because you can't plant where people are probably gonna pull in, I would assume. But did we ever get like a decision, is special use the route he could go, or the encroachment did allow to asphalt to the road?
He would, if he really wants to asphalt to the road, he would definitely need a special
special
use
use, okay.
permit. The encroachment permit is only applicable if he's going into an easement. So that's part of what he needs
Oh,
to do with the survey.
you're
is
right, to figure out
if
where
he's
the-
in it. So he could need both of them, or he could just need the special use permit. Or if he opts to not move forward with that, all he has the right, and as a property owner, to pave up to the setback.
The 5 foot?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
yeah, I think in the future we might figure out how to combine these, but he's kind of the like first person that's gone
Yeah.
down this path, and it became apparent once he started working over there that I think he told us at our HOA meeting that he planned to pave to the road, and at that point I told him that's not allowed, but you know, let's work through it, and then they just started with their work. So the code enforcement officer gave them a stop work order to give us a chance to get our ducks in a row. But I think you had the proper suggestion on getting a survey done so we know what we're even looking at. Technically, the 5-foot buffer around the commercial property he would need the special use permit for that 5 foot. The encroachment would be the
To go
piece
all the way
to the
to the
road.
road.
So, and to also clarify, I'm glad you guys talked about it, but the encroachment permit is something that town council votes on.
Yeah, that's what's
So,
interesting.
yeah,
Right, yeah, we certainly didn't like vote on it or
Yeah, yeah.
anything. We were trying to help him figure out what he needed.
yeah. No, I think you
forward.
guys did great in helping him
Yeah.
figure out, like, the survey is real important.
Definitely.
And just to be clear as far as the law, it's not a permit that he needs, an encroachment permit. He needs an encroachment agreement. So he's applied for that through that process. And so that would all, before he could even go to the special use process, he would need to have a written agreement with the town of Alpine that allowed him to pave on our property. And what the terms of that would be. So he would probably have to agree, if the town council so desired to allow him to do that, that, you know, we could dig it up, and under what circumstances, and who pays for that, and all of those things, because the distinguishing factor is it is not his property that he desires to pave.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it may ultimately be a two-step process.
Yeah, thank you for the
No,
clarification.
No, thank you for all you guys did.
Yeah, I think it brings up also another good point, like, people have the right to pave their property as long as they're staying within, you know, the rules of the Land Use Development Code. But we talked about this over the past year about impervious surface, and this is a real important discussion. I think it's something that you guys will be talking about until we figure out how to, you know, when we want to redo the land use development code. But I think as a town, we need to develop a percentage of impervious surface that you can have on your property. Because, for example, if we allowed everyone to plow to pave 100% of their property, then what happens is, and, you know, the easement and up to our road, that all that rain, all the snow, everything has nowhere to go on your property anymore. So it has to go on someone else's property. So as a town, we have to figure out what's the best way to handle that. And we'll be working with Jorgensen and the planning and zoning to figure out what's the best way, and lean on you guys a lot. But, so that's kind of where I think the discussion should also go. So,
Yeah, it's a valid point for sure.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks,
Yes.
Rachel. Good job on your first one. Mr. Larson, you have some stuff here for us?
Yeah, so I actually have an economic development report. Former Commissioner Bob King has been put essentially for at least Star Valley as head of economic development. And he's been traveling through several towns through Utah, and then also going to a couple of Wyoming conferences specific to outdoor recreation, and looking at what smaller towns, valleys, counties are doing to promote recreation on behalf of economic development. So he's had a few good ideas. We actually, Alpine Trails and Pathways Board met with him last week. Yeah, it all blends into one, a few days ago anyway. And trying to get his ideas, basically looking at identifying areas throughout Star Valley to point at hiking trails, biking trails, moto trails, horse and hike trails, not just one area, but throughout the whole valley, and then ideally some kind of interconnected system. So obviously this would be a multi-year process, but at least getting that conversation going and working towards the planning. He's been in talks with the Soda District on the Caribou Targhee side. We're always in contact with the BT and the Grays side. And I don't believe he's talked to the Palisades folks yet. I don't know where there'd be a spot there, but that's in talks. So we'll see. Let's see, next, utility easement. So Silver Stars, like I said at our 2 meetings ago, I believe, they're just waiting for the snow to melt. Now that the snow's melted, the rains came. So kind of waiting on that. Just today I spoke with Craig, our Streets and Roads guy, and then also McKay with Star Valley, or Silver Star, because there's work that both of them are looking to do, and I didn't want to repeat the work. So they're going to get together and get a plan of attack of rehabbing both Terrace and not much really needs to be done with Sunset, more the dirt part of Sunset, but definitely Terrace. So they're going to work together and get that going within the next few weeks. Also, Lower Valley has been burying power lines along the bottom of Terrace, and looks like they have that all buried by now. If you see power lines, it's going generally from the box to the homeowner. The homeowners are responsible on the power side if they want that power line buried from the box to their home. So just reach out to Lower Valley. So there's some action going on there. And then,
Have you been enjoying your high-speed internet?
honestly,
Oh, great.
nah, I don't,
You're not getting high numbers?
I'm definitely, because I do a speed test. In fact, I just did a speed test over the weekend because it wasn't working that great. And the speed test is great. You know?
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I do a speed test every time. Speed test is fabulous. Before I was getting 4 and 5, now I'm getting 104 and 105. So it's definitely there. I don't know if it's on my home end or what, but there's definitely been a few more hiccups that I didn't have when it was copper. So
Not as reliable, maybe?
not quite as reliable, for sure, especially on streaming movies and stuff like that. I don't know if it's the TV or just what, but like I say, I always, as soon as something happens, I definitely always check the speed test, and the speed test is fine.
Maybe there's still some hiccups that need to get
I don't know.
ironed out.
I don't know. I'm sure it's on my end.
You can go back to cable if you want.
No, I can't.
Okay.
Cable's done.
We'll let you go to satellite.
Done.
Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
No. If anybody has anything else on those two topics, by all means, interrupt. And then finally, Alpine Travel and Tourism. So we had our final meeting for the spring last week, and approval on, I'll just kind of go down the list. So for the most part, everything was approved. There were some approvals of contingencies, but we did approval for Alpine Mountain Days, for Alpine Winter Jubilee, Music in the Mountains, Star Valley Independent Marketing Proposal, where that's kind of the advertising part of promoting Alpine, with geofencing, social media advertising, kind of the meat and potatoes to get folks at the events or just to visit Alpine. And then on the impact side, grant to Alpine Fire District, also to Friends of the BT, and then to, let's see, also for the town, one thing we'll be looking forward to next year is Alpine Trail Groomer for Alpine. Snow groomer. Reggae in the Rockies, which will happen the weekend after Labor Day weekend. And then interactive touchscreen for the info center at the Civic Center. 4th of July fireworks. Star Valley Trout Unlimited basically is an incubator for their film festival. All those proceeds go to restoration for Salt River. That's what it's going to now. They work on the grays, the salt, Tin Cup. They'll have a big restoration party in the next few weeks. If you haven't been up to the top of Tin Cup, where they've done a ton of restoration work the past 5 years, 6 years, it's amazing. And they're working on doing restoration work on the Salt River right now. They do have, it's either a $12 or $14 million grant out in the grant area that's being held up. Hopefully that comes to fruition. We also did, not this summer, but you have to have the deposit in this fiscal year, or I should say in the 25-26 fiscal year, for the Star Valley Arts Council for Shakespeare in the Park. That'll happen here in summer 2026. And then another arts festival like we had last year for the Star Valley Art Council. Also a art auction for the Star Valley Art Council. Friend them on Facebook to find out the dates for that. And also, like I said, Friends of the BT to hire a couple of ambassadors for the Gray's parking lot area and the greater Alpine area. Again, impact of tourism kind of information. They've done a lot of great work up in Teton County. Both Alpine Travel and Tourism and Star Valley Ranch Travel and Tourism kind of did a dual purpose with that. So our ambassadors will concentrate on the trailhead of the Grays. Their ambassadors will concentrate on the Front Range and Grover Park. So hopefully that'll turn out to be pretty good. And then finally, one for ATAP for another season of winter grooming on the lake bed for cross-country skiing like we did last year. And that's it. Our next meeting, unless something else comes up, won't be till October to get the feedback reports from all the events this summer.
I can give a little update on the kiosk.
Oh, great.
So we had a lively conversation about the kiosk and you know, the merits and all that stuff, but the Travel and Tourism Board decided to fund it, but it actually has to come to town council to decide if we're going to do it. But part of the conversation was around, should the kiosk be at the information center, at the civic center, or there's another option to be at Brolam's, out in front of Brolam's, where there would get much more activity over there. And Brolam's has responded with very positive thoughts on having it over there. So we're just working with Shannon to see what the possibility is. And then by the time we need to make our decision, we'll have kind of a better idea of where they would put it and all that stuff. Cool. So anyways, that was good. You and Sarah should put together a post for, maybe it's already in progress, but make sure, like, making announcements, these are the things that we funded.
Yep.
So that'd be great. Thank you.
I have an
Yeah,
addition to my
please.
report, my
Yeah.
events report. So back in January, we had Winter Jubilee and Casino Night where we raised funds for the local scholarships. And tonight is Scholarship Awards Night for Star Valley High School, and we have 3 being given out tonight. We gave 1 to a student in Jackson for a total of $3,500. So that's very good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, love
awesome.
that we do that. All right, and then sheriff's report is online. So next we'll go to public comment on agenda items. This is kind of a new one for us that you guys may not be able to see it. Hey, Kevin, do you mind pushing that screen back so the audience can see? Thank you. Just like that's perfect. So basically, anything that's on our agenda action items, you can come up, give your public comment, 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes. I don't know if anyone came tonight regarding to make a comment on action items. This is your chance to do it because during the actual discussion on the action item, we'll only take testimony from people that are directly related to it, the topic. So if anyone has anything, looks like Mo's going to come up.
Can
Mo,
I-
will go first.
Can I comment, or do I comment after them? I'll comment after them.
I'll just be real quick. I'm very disappointed that Christine is no longer with us. I'm not for sure how that all laid out. I just want y'all to know she was a real asset to our department and everything we've done. She's done so much throughout the years with the town and knows the ins and outs of everybody and all the projects we've had in the past. She was a very valuable asset that we really enjoyed having her on our P&Z meetings and on our team as well. So that was it.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mo.
That really wasn't regarding an action item or,
Ms. Corsine's going to be sworn in as her,
okay,
so that's why I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking.
she, sounds good. Justin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Justin Scott, Alpine resident. Just comment, I came in late. Did you say that the scholarship went to a Jackson
So
student,
lives in Alpine, attends school in Jackson,
but does not attend school in
in Star
Lincoln
Valley.
County?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yep.
That's not a prerequisite for those
No, we
scholarships.
always,
I'm just interested in the fact that
There's still some,
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, there's-
We gave a scholarship to someone who doesn't go to school in this county.
yeah, lives here. We make, part of the requirement is they participate in our community.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? All right,
Can I just make a comment?
sure.
And mine isn't about the agenda. I guess,
So,
or are we
is,
not? It has to be about the
just
agenda.
about the
And then
action
we'll have
items.
another general public
Okay,
comment.
well, I guess I want to clarify. Public comment is limited to a total of 20 minutes per agenda item or total?
No, total for, not per agenda item, but
Okay,
yeah.
so it's just,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And this wasn't something, and I guess I feel like 3 minutes is a little short, but I would prefer 5.
3
but I
minutes,
think it's at
in my
your
opinion, 3
discretion.
minutes is a lot of time to, you can fit a lot of stuff in. But,
We'll see how it shakes out. It's a new concept.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Any others? Yeah. Is it regarding something that?
I think it might be related to the speed limit.
Oh, go ahead,
Come on.
please. Well, allow, if you could hit the
Just
button
big
there.
button.
All right, I was gonna wait until the end of the general public comment.
We'll let you do it now.
Okay, well, we.
Tell us your name first.
Jack Vera,
Okay.
and we bought here about 5 years ago, and have noticed in the last 5 years, like everybody else has, I'm sure, the increased truck traffic, right? Especially to and from the gravel pit and to and from the way station. And the compression brakes, you know what those are?
Yes.
Right, they're very loud, and then sometimes in the morning when the conditions are right, you can hear them for a mile or two, and they're just like one after another. So in Swan Valley, I've seen no compression brake signs. So I was wondering if maybe we could have no compression brake signs.
Thank you for bringing that. Are you done? I could.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I thought it might be related to speed limit because
That's-
the more you slow down, they're used to slow down your truck, and you kind of would need them to and from, because they do it in both directions from the gravel pit and both directions from the way station, and I guess not really going out towards Jackson,
Yep.
coming in from Jackson, they hit them.
Yeah.
They hit them there. Anyway, they're just signs that,
So, thank you for bringing that up. We have to adhere to strict policy on the compression brake signs, and we're required, we have to abide by YDOT's requirements as far as compression brakes. They can't be called Jake brakes because that's a brand name. It has to be compression brakes. But it goes hand in hand with the speed limit ordinance because we can only do it, first of all, where the town of Alpine starts. So now, town of Alpine out towards Bananas is all the way out to Targhee Place. Is it called Targhee Place? So it can be out there quite a ways, but we have to have the speed limit ordinance in place to do that. So this is kind of the first step. So in the future, our goal is to get those signs up, and we can talk about it more during the discussion, but thank you for bringing that up in case we were going to miss it, but that is an advantage.
if you're gonna put up new speed limit signs, you know.
Put up.
kind of goes, you know,
Hand in hand,
they're out there
Yeah.
doing it, you know. they
for sure.
Put up another sign, right?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Sure.
Justin Scott, did I hear that the speed limit has to be 40 miles an hour before you can put up those compression brake signs?
Not necessarily.
That's what I was told, and the fact that why they haven't been put up is because
We
it
have
has
to
to be a
get to
40 mile an hour speed.
We would have to check that, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's another stipulation that's,
Okay, that's what I was told why they.
No, I thought we had a discussion
I-
similar to that in the
Right.
past, and that was.
let
one
me
of the
also
reasons.
clarify that we cannot change the speed
Right, I
limit on the
understand
highway.
that, and that's why I believe that why the signs can't be put up, because it's a 45 mile an hour speed
Minimum.
limit.
Okay.
We'll
That's-
check on that.
that's what I
Thanks,
believe.
Jess.
So we have already updated the ordinance. It needed to be updated to install signs. And I don't know what signs. I wasn't involved in
You
that
updated
up
it
front.
for second reading.
It was for the noise ordinance. It was in the noise ordinance that we lowered the speed limit so that these signs, so signs could be put up. But again, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I think I wrote a note that I will follow up with Craig to see where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
And just one follow-up.
Do you mind coming back up?
Is that going, it's also going, doesn't seem like it makes sense, but when you're going, they go out, they also, they need to see the sign because
Right.
they'll take off from the junction and they'll wind up, and then to stop for the weigh station, they hit the compression brake all the way. And the same with the gravel pit, you know, they come through town and they hit the compression brake all the way, so it's kind of like you got to do it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know with the weigh station, there's plenty of problems, people passing the sign and trying to go around it, and so, we'll do the best we can with those changes. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other discussions, comments? All right, let's move on to action items. First on the list is the ordinance for the speed limit on second reading. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance number 2025-008, speed limit ordinance.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, you put both on here, and was that to show us the changes from the first and
Yeah.
second? Okay.
Because Sarah inadvertently, well, she changed it, and so you didn't make it green. Yeah, so we just put both on there so you can see the differences.
Can you tell me what the change is?
And so Craig wanted to remove the descriptors for collector, major,
Yeah.
or whatever they were. What else? And then there was duplications in the streets.
Right.
They took them out. Did he adjust any speed limits? No.
Okay, so we brought up at the first I'm sorry,
He added red quill and blue wing.
where are those, by the way?
Over by the air park. Or no, Blue Wing, no, you're right, Blue Wing is at the junction. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Blue Lake.
Were recently annexed.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. We brought this up last time, that if anyone has any issues with where we have your local street placed on this list, you need to reach out to us and give us your feedback, because we did have them organized, and you can see from the first reading, this major local, minor collector, minor local, and I agree that this is just like, you know, these are the roads that are 25 miles an hour, 20,
Yes.
15. But if anyone has any issues with this or would like to make another recommendation, it doesn't have to be tonight. It can just be before the third reading, which would be on June 3rd. Anyone have any other questions or comments or
So are,
discussion points on this?
so are we having to purchase then all these signs for these roads?
So we're not required to put up speed limit signs necessarily. We have a budget every year for signs, and I think what we should do is, first of all, people that need to request that we put a sign up in front of their street, I would imagine would be the most effective way to get a sign put up. But we're not required to put a speed limit on each one of these roads. I just think we need to start picking them off year over year and, start, I think that the best ones are the ones in the neighborhoods, of course.
Some streets already have signs.
Yeah.
That's what, well, yeah, and I was just saying, it seems like a lot of signs to have to purchase, so it was more just like, oh
No,
gosh.
Craig has even said a lot of them already have speed limits, but we had no ordinance to enforce it.
So I think we'll,
All the roads, at least that I brought up at last meeting, as far as the hill goes, they've been corrected in here, and they look correct to me.
And this, I missed, I was obviously out of town, so I missed the discussion. So what is the speed limit based on? Just people driving around saying that's the right speed? I mean, I don't know, because it seems so confusing, like this road's 15.
well, I
this
think
one's
it's
20.
also kind of, YDOT has that's where we got these kind of major collector and all that.
Oh.
So if I'm not mistaken, YDOT is the one that has given us kind of the initial, like, descriptor for these.
For
And
these
then,
roads.
yeah, and then from there, we've kind of filled in which ones are which. But again, if, like, our neighborhood's 15 and no one drives 15, but I appreciate that we have the 15-mile-an-hour signs up.
And I think most of these, it wasn't that we arbitrarily threw the speed limit at, this has been the speed limit for at least all the roads that I know of already.
Okay.
So at least all the roads in my neck of the woods are correct in what it has been for the past at least 15 years.
So if law enforcement is the only one that can give a ticket, they would have to know all these different speed limits if they were driving? Okay.
Yeah, and the sheriff has said many times that he's not really looking to go around the town of Alpine and pull people over.
I mean,
for
I would hope
speeding.
not.
They have better things to do, but they are, you know, if someone was complaining about someone doing wheelies on a dirt bike going up and down the Grays River Road time after time, I mean, I think they're gonna head over there. Not to say that that's ever happened before, but.
Really?
Every day.
Yeah. It's a daily occurrence. But yeah, once we have this in place, then, I mean, you know, if we wanted to pay them overtime above and beyond our contract to look at speed, then we could do that. And then if and when we ever got to the point where we had a police, some above and beyond our code enforcement officer, you know, someone that with a radar could handle it for us, but.
And that's not what I'm looking for. It just is like, that's a lot to follow. It's what I guess it just seems, that's the tough part, but.
The enforcement.
Just so many different miles per hour.
Oh, yeah, it's.
Of, like, to have this many different.
They're gonna
miles per
rely
hour.
on
Yeah.
the signs for sure,
Yeah.
the speed limit signs for sure.
And of course, Craig will be here on the 3rd, and so
He'll give
you
you
can
the
talk to
Okay.
him about it.
It's-
Yeah, he might be able to explain it better.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this? What's this thing? Okay, I like the changes that you guys made, so, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of ordinance number 2025-008, speed limit ordinance on second reading, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Ordinance carries on second reading. I'm going to move the Jorgensen Engineering down until Jim gets here. So let's move on to ordinance number 2025-009, the amended budget.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2025-009, amended budget for fiscal year 2025 on the first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Discussion. Okay, so we have had, how many budget meetings have we had?
We
Madam?
actually ended up.
We had 3. And we have gone over the budget. I'm not here to tell you that we're totally finalized, but this is our first kind of brush at it. I know Monica's been working very diligently on this and pulling this together. In general, the general fund is pretty darn close to what we anticipated. This is for this year's budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is amended budget.
This is
for
the amended budget,
2025.
right. So we're really dialed in on this budget. Of course, we have, you know, what we still anticipate spending through the end of this fiscal year. Madam Treasurer, do you have anything additional you would like to say, or you would, I'm sure, be happy to field any questions anyone has?
No, I do feel that I want to go back through it more carefully. I probably need about 2 whole days where nobody talks to me. I mean, honestly, that's probably what I need, because it really is a process that once you sit down, and it's something I really enjoy, once you start wrapping your head around it, you kind of then start following the money, and it's, I really enjoy that whole process, but getting interrupted does at times make it
Well,
difficult.
we'll lock you in your office whenever you want.
Yes, please
but,
lock me in my office, shut off the phone.
I wonder what the council feels about having one more work session to go through it, if anyone's.
It's probably not a bad idea.
I'd like to have at least one
Yeah.
more for the
And I-
2025.
I would like a
Well, for both.
professional services person to join us in the sense of, like, okay, and I don't know, is it possible to pull this up? Because what's
don't have
throwing me
it.
off is that the 2025 says we're over budget 1.7, million
In the sewer
Fund.
in the sewer fund, but that I don't see on here.
Well, let's ask first, Monica. I
Yeah,
know
you
that
tell me,
you-
because
I know
this
that
is
you-
new to me,
You
so I wanna.
updated our 2025, what I call our summary,
Yeah.
but this more comprehensive might not be updated, because obviously.
What I gave you was updated with these numbers.
Oh, no, I just.
The
meant
last copy.
comprehensive
Yeah,
breakdown.
the last,
Oh,
I
okay.
sent with the copies of the ordinance to you guys, I sent a new copy,
You made the
a
changes that we
PDF.
talked about in the
Correct,
last.
and you will see that there is designations at the bottom to explain all of that.
Right.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
think where my confusion came, and I'm only speaking for myself, I don't know what everybody else has seen with it, but for the 2025, where I started getting confused is on our more comprehensive breakdown, some of the numbers, usually when you do summaries, like last year, you had matched the exact number to the expenditures and revenues for each fund, and my comprehensive breakdown, they're different. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and so you probably aren't looking at the most recent one that was done, that was
Okay.
sent. Because I continued to work on it.
Right,
I
right,
work
right,
on them
yeah.
all the time. And so I did do a PDF. When I landed this, there was an error on one of the budgets. I don't know where the number came from. It had a plus in it, but
Oh, I
updated
remember
it.
that, yeah.
I updated this.
So I have the
version's
updated from last night of the
Yeah.
summary.
Okay.
But I just wanted to, if we could go through and just look at some of the changes, and I think that'll tie in to 2026 when we start to review, and tell me if I'm looking at the wrong numbers.
No, you're fine.
But I know you're really good at just seeing this whole picture. So for 2025, for our total general fund revenue, I'll just go fund by fund. For the comprehensive breakdown, we were about 300,000 less for the proposed 2025 budget. Can you just peek at what I'm saying? Because if I don't have the right one.
No, I'm sure you don't, so.
Okay. Yeah, because there's some that the grant income is suddenly zero or moves from zero to being an actual number for 2026.
Well,
Prior year
and that-
fund balances
And that's
change.
because we didn't use, like, for grant input.
Right.
We didn't use those funds in this fiscal year.
Right.
So we just moved
We
them
just
to
moved
next
them.
fiscal year.
Okay,
If you see a zero in it that didn't have a zero in it before, but it moved over, that'd be the reason why.
okay.
Was there another specific thing that you saw on that?
No, I was
Well, it's
just
the
looking at,
wastewater treatment plant for me.
which one are you looking at?
Well, I'm just looking at expenditures where it says net revenue over expenditures is 1.2 million.
That's for next year's.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1.7 million.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to balance against this, because all these seem to line up, and maybe
Okay,
I need
and
to see
so
what she
I
added.
I can help you understand that, hopefully just a little bit, but, so on,
The wastewater.
wastewater is one fund, and this is good for everyone to know, but there's three separate funds, and, for example, the sewer and water fund, need to work independently because they're what's called enterprise funds.
Right,
So we can't, technically, we can loan the sewer fund money,
Right.
but we have to pay it back.
right.
So the way that it's always been done at the town of Alpine is that they put prior year's balance, fund balance on here, and that's the only way to balance the budget. Because all of the sewer treatment plant is hitting this year in the current 25 fiscal year.
Okay.
Hi, Jim. So,
And is that what Wade Hershey agreed as well? I mean, because I didn't know, what is his role in?
well, he's our accountant, for
Okay,
sure, yeah.
okay.
And I don't know that he has looked at this budget, but we are capturing those numbers the best way we can.
Right.
It brings up a very valid point that the sewer fund is so upside down,
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
something has to change.
right.
And really, the only way to change that is to raise rates would be a way to do it. Bring on more users, all those things that haven't ever happened. And we've talked about this at length at the last budget meeting, but And this isn't to say that what they did when they put in the sewer plant was wrong, but it was sized in a way that they sized it for all this growth that was supposed to happen.
Right,
So now we run at 35%, right?
right.
But we still have expenditures in maintenance on,
On 100%.
yeah, on 100% of
Right.
it, basically. So we take the big hit, like, what was the membranes? It was $750,000 or
Yeah.
something like that to replace those? And you have to do that every several years, however long it is, and that happened this year. And the wastewater treatment plant, the pre-treatment plant, excuse me,
Okay.
goes on the wastewater fund. So,
Because the way that I've always looked at, I know we'll talk about this when we get to 2026, but I feel like the way we've always been guided to look at each fund individually is to see how quickly our revenue is growing. And personally, I try not to be exorbitantly larger of expenditures than the prior year unless there's we've had a lot of projects that have gone neglected. There's special projects, there's special circumstances. But I would like to start getting creative, not only with having another budget workshop, but I think for the next one, specifically targeting 2026 and this upside down fund and looking at how do we get creative with revenue without our only options being taking out more debt, exorbitantly raising rates. You know, for me personally, I do feel as if now we're working with millions of dollars. If you look at when we took out our $1 million loan, we've done our best to try to offset some of that, but I'd like to see if we need to tap into another professional service, we certainly have the funding to do that.
what are you suggesting? What
To see,
professional
so
service?
if Wade will come in to our next meeting, I would like to see how he navigates all of these revenues and expenditures. And then if we need somebody else who's specifically, you know, has a specialty in municipal budgets and overcoming expenditures, I'd love to see what they think that we can do.
I'm open to whatever. If we
yeah.
can get some advice on how we can do this, but it's a much bigger discussion.
Right.
Because this is a problem that we have to figure out sooner rather than later.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
we're doing water studies right
Yes.
now, and so all those things are happening, kind of converging.
Yeah.
And I think next year, I don't think we're gonna be able to figure it out for the 25 or the 26 budget before June 30th, is my point.
Right.
I think we should get as much information as we possibly can and start formalizing our plan, because it's a mess, for sure.
Well, then we get started now and we start planting the seeds and then seeing what light items, even if they're small. And Monica, you're fabulous at this. This is what we did the last budget, is you can look and see what can be moved to another year, what can be taken out completely. And I know that it's a process and it takes a lot of time, but I'd like us to, even if we have to
That's-
take off
I don't
other
mind spending the time.
items.
But I feel like we have to find $1 million, and that's
Well,
the scary
but
part.
can I,
I
but
know.
here, this,
But yeah,
so Craig and I
yeah.
have spent a lot of time talking about this, because clearly Craig is overseeing all these departments, and he's like after our budget meeting. So the numbers were, just so you're clear,
Right.
the numbers were changed after the budget meeting based on the conversations. There wasn't any decisions, but
Right.
there was additional work that was done. So the document I just provided you, Emily, unless I have a typo, which is completely possible, that document was sent to you guys on Friday night when I left here and it coincides with the ordinances.
Okay, so
And-
some of these are updated.
Correct. And so
Yes.
that should give you the flow, and I'm happy to go through all of that. But the following day after the budget meeting, Craig was incredibly stressed. I mean, because, you know, the weight of the responsibility, like, he's like, that was really stressful. What are we going to do? How do we fix this? So him and I just sat down and we did some basic math. When you look at the income that is available based on the current rate structure in the wastewater department, when you add our debt and simply the labor, you have maxed the budget. And that is what, I mean, and $2 million of that debt has existed for a very long time.
Right.
The problem is that our wastewater treatment plant is aging, And we have $140,000 worth of UV system that needs to be replaced, because if you don't replace the UV system, then the water will not be clean when it goes to the river, and we will end up in violation of our permit.
It'd be non-compliant.
We had to replace blowers. Kevin could I don't know anything about wastewater treatment. Kevin could probably speak to some of the large, they had to add the additional train. We have spent a huge amount of money since I've been here
Right.
on these upgrades or repairs to the wastewater treatment plant. And as the town grows, that plant was built, was very much oversized initially, which in some respects was a good thing. We have lots of capacity. But in others, it's still at 35 to 38% max. That's the max flow. And so we still have 70% capacity in a wastewater treatment plant that's now aging, and we're having to replace those systems for a plant that was designed at probably
Right.
way more than 4 times the size we needed it way
No,
back when
and I
it was
completely
done.
understand.
And so those costs are good. I don't know how you control
The other
that.
thing I should mention is that in the past, the budget for all the operators and some of those expenses were put on the general fund.
In some
I know they were
respects.
misallocated, and
Yeah.
now we're getting a
Yes.
much better
Yeah,
idea.
and so it's I think, a more realistic budget, that all these numbers are going to the people that are helping us with our, impact fees and all those things, that once we can get those instituted, I think it's going to help these numbers especially. But,
Yeah, I think I'm just looking specifically just for the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, and also, I've also.
For revenue.
I've also speculated, and in reality, the costs that were projected by Jorgensen Engineering to run the wastewater treatment plant they're not stated at that value. They're about half, because putting them at full, I don't know when it's gonna open. But some of those costs are estimated for the pre-treatment, and until we really operate that pre-treatment plant, it'll be it's very difficult to figure that cost out. So when you look at the pre-treatment line item, it's probably way understated of the actual cost at this point.
Yeah, I think we're being really conservative. Well, and I know that, thank you for the explanation for the wastewater fund revenue. I think that's specifically where my question originated, because when you look at what you sent out for fiscal year proposed amended,
Yes.
our wastewater total fund revenue is at $800,000. Now, that makes sense with 2025, because it's 755 plus 45. We carried over what we didn't use. But
Yeah.
for 2026, and I know we'll get into that, we're looking at similar revenue, but our expenditure is $1 million, 1.1 over that. So does that take into account the loan? I mean, how do we, for 2026 expenditures?
So,
let's talk about that one when we get to it for 2026.
Okay.
Let's just focus on this one. I did notice a typo on this.
did you?
There's a few.
It says waster water, so if,
Okay, well, no, I didn't mean to move into 2026, but now that I know that some of the data that I had was appropriate,
Yeah.
do you personally, Monica, feel as if we could take a further look into this and you want to take one more assessment?
Oh, I do, because last year, we passed a resolution that we would borrow $1 million from the general fund, and that hasn't been done, but I can tell you, based on the cash situation, this is a serious situation.
Yes.
We don't have cash
Right.
in that fund.
Well, and I think we have to cap spending to our revenue growth. So I'm trying to figure out, what's the cost business analysis of what we're spending money on? And,
cap, what did you say? Cap revenue?
no, cap spending growth versus we have to base what we spend on how much revenue we are bringing in. So we can only, if, say our revenue went up 10%, then our spending should only go up 10%. And I think those aren't matching at the moment. And so, and yes, I apologize. I
you're
was
fine.
working off of the one we had in
Absolutely.
person. So, I will make a copy of that, but I definitely want one more
Yeah,
workshop if we can.
Absolutely.
I would like to schedule
Because
for next Wednesday.
We have got to, and this isn't against you, but someone in the professional services municipality, we have to come up with a 5-year plan, is what I feel in my brain keeps saying, if we're gonna be underwater for the next 5 years, or however long it takes to get to 60% capacity.
You're gonna be underwater for the next 20 years.
Yeah. we-
Yes.
Until that loan's
obviously.
paid.
But I want it, that solvency is never, like, we're just on the cusp.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's what I'm trying to.
No,
And like I
absolutely.
said, we have all this information that we're gathering.
Yeah.
From these studies that will help us in the future, but at this point, we have to land this. So
No, I agree with
this-
Monica. If we could do another one, because we've also moved things around because it was so misallocated at the beginning, and you've spent the last 2 years trying to make sure all the money is going into the right pot. But I certainly have found some confusion as you found more mistakes.
Yeah,
So.
oh, yeah.
And I would even
so-
say one after that, just for 2026.
Yeah, and the bottom line is the town of Alpine could not afford to build a wastewater pretreatment plant.
we
I
should-
didn't,
should never
I
do
didn't create that problem, nor did anybody
no.
at this table, create that problem. And so,
Well, it
but
was
we
given
have
to
to
us.
deal with the ramifications of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to operate.
The equipment's very expensive, so.
It's,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments regarding this? The typos we can handle for the next reading. I'm not worried about that. But if anyone finds anything in particular, please share it with Monica or Sarah, and we'll.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then, is everyone available the next Wednesday, the 28th?
Yes.
I won't be here.
You
I'll
won't?
have to call, I'll see if I can call in.
Okay. Do we have enough time to advertise for a work session?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's tentatively schedule, well, let's just
It's
schedule.
7 business days, right, Monica, that we need to advertise?
No, we can post
We
it
can
just
do it?
like
Okay.
putting,
Okay.
yeah, in our 3 spots.
Okay,
We don't have
Yes,
to
have
put
to
it
give
in the
notice.
newspaper.
okay.
We will do whatever we can to get the word out, but let's just shoot for the 28th at 3 o'clock.
I'd like to invite, if we do not invite Wade to this next one, I'd like to invite him to one after that, if we
Well,
want to
let's-
strictly
let's-
focus on
let's be
2026.
totally upfront about the timing. Like, we've been working on this for a long time.
Right.
And I don't want to push out any more work sessions after next week. I want to have the second reading be dialed in. If we find that we need more information between the second and third reading, then we'll consider it. But I want, if Wade can come or whoever else needs to come to answer the questions, I want it next week.
Well, yeah, we
I-
have to,
I
because
guess
we
I-
have to pass it by the end of June.
So what is it
Well,
that you
no,
think?
my point is, you said you want another one. When would we have a chance to have another one?
Another
Work
No, a
session.
work
budget session?
Yeah,
We have June. I don't understand.
right, we have the June reading,
Right,
right?
right,
June 3rd,
right,
and then June 17th.
right.
So that's what I'm
We
saying, like,
can't have
I don't
another
want
Wednesday
to,
budget
I don't want to
session in
push
between.
the information gathering out too far.
Right.
I want to try to figure it out next week.
So let's do that and see where we're at, and then if we need to schedule another after that, we will. We gave ourselves a lot of flexibility last year with
Yeah, we
adding
also
on a
did,
budget meeting.
we also didn't have the meetings back to back to back like we do now. We started this process last year in April,
We had a, right,
so we're just going to be under a very tight time frame now.
okay. And you're looking at tight timeframes for our regularly scheduled meetings as well?
Fitting these in between,
Right,
fitting a budget session in between our meetings. And seeing as though we've already had 4 or whatever, I mean, I just want this to be,
3. I thought we had 3. Have we had 4?
we've had
We've had 3.
we've canceled a bunch and moved them out. But anyways, I just want the next one to be the
Yeah.
one where everyone comes and we answer as
No,
many questions.
I completely understand that, and I certainly do not want our process to be delayed. It really can't be, but I think that this is a priority, so if we had to move another, we're doing 2 meetings a month. If we had to move some of those agenda items to another month and just focus on budget, then only speaking for myself, I'd be amenable to that. I don't want us to pigeonhole. I watched the last budget was the only meeting I missed. I watched the whole thing twice. I've tried to dig in, but it does take time, and you're right, I don't want it to be delayed. If we have to delay anything else, I'd be
So
open to
can I
that as
ask-
opposed to budget.
So do you want me to see if Wade's available and when?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. And
Make
just so
sure
he can
he
be
has
prepared,
this, yes.
I need to understand what it is you want from him.
Okay, no, that's a great question, just to
Yeah.
focus his attention. I would say for me, I would like to focus strictly on imbalances of expenditures and revenues. And then if he has knowledge of what other municipalities do, I know we're in a unique situation, but at the end of the day, it comes down to line items and data. So if he
Yeah.
has suggestions on how we move forward, who we have to contact, what other resources we have to tap into to make a successful 5, 10-year, 15-year plan,
Okay.
then we talk to him about
Yeah,
that.
it's not for me, it's truly, wherever I see red parentheses, that's where, just his insight as to how we can just have like you said, 5, 10-year plan.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds, and I want to utilize his time appropriately, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
we
want to
need
make
to
sure
reach out for.
that I communicate to
Right,
him
yeah.
effectively so he can come prepared.
Yes, well, and you've been in constant, transparent contact with him,
Oh,
so I
without a
know
doubt.
he'll, thanks to you, have familiarity. I just think at this point in time,
Yeah.
if we have the budget and ability, we start reaching out to somebody who can specifically look at revenue.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does, his primarily deals with water and sewer.
Right.
And that's what he does.
And
He'll
that's
be,
perfect.
he'll be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with the data you've put together, we can actually
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
what's real.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll let him tell us how bad we are.
Thank you for scheduling that.
We
Oh,
already,
no
we already know how bad we are, but we'll let him tell us. Does anyone else have any comments regarding this ordinance on first reading?
You updated travel and tourism
Yes, sir.
for FBT?
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of ordinance number 2025-009, amended budget for fiscal year 2025 on first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Ordinance carries on first reading. All right, on to the next one, which is,
Or are we going back?
no, we'll do the
2026.
budgets back to back, and then we'll go back to the other. If you don't mind, let me just make sure I've got the right one here. Okay. Do we have a motion on the table?
Just take a look at mine.
Motion to approve first reading ordinance number 2025-010, budget for fiscal year 2026.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Discussion. Let's see. Waster Water Fund, again. Waster. Similar problems on water and sewer, of course. And we'll try to get to the bottom of all that, but does anyone have any specific things they would like to discuss on this budget?
Monica, for general fund revenue, how did you work the other revenue? Oh, sorry. Because the prior year you'd had, here was 2025. We just bundle?
And so.
You split it.
You have your sheet right there. It's easiest to look at that. So if you go down, so these are the headers.
Right,
So this is what's in it.
right.
So is that the
Okay.
interest? No. Oh, yeah.
No,
that's
because I think I got confused because 26 other revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it includes other
Okay.
income, it
Okay.
includes loan proceeds, it includes contributions, which is a contribution that was built through the airport.
Right,
Um,
okay,
And then, so this tends to not be budgeted
right,
and gets budgeted in the amended form because we don't really anticipate those sort of,
okay,
yeah,
Okay.
transactions.
okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I had one, oh, is that my copy? Thank you. I had one, and I brought it up in our workshop, Eric, and one of them was under mayor and council, 60,500. So I have the ordinance from 20.
What's this regarding?
Oh, I'm sorry. The health insurance of 22,000 a year. So I have the ordinance that was passed in 2014, that the mayor makes 24,000 per year, which I think that is what's noted. But then health insurance isn't, it has to be an ordinance. So one of the things I just was wondering, it says under Title 15 Wyoming statutes, cities and towns, compensation and benefits for elected officials, including mayors, must be established by ordinance. This means that if a mayor is receiving health insurance benefits without an ordinance authorizing such compensation, it may be considered unauthorized.
So our only ordinance is surrounding
Is
salaries
under
for mayor and
salary.
council?
So I was just trying to figure out if I'm missing the ordinance or because benefits are compensation. And so that was, over 4 years, that's like 88,000. And so I was just digging into that, and I don't think,
So, Jim, I know the previous administration, the mayor also was able to sign up for health insurance and did, and collected it. So could you speak to that? Because I really don't know.
Well, I think the statute's pretty simple. It needs to be part of the ordinance.
So-
I don't ever recall when we've ever done the
There
ordinance.
had to be an ordinance, because I recall that when they increased, there was an ordinance when they increased.
The
pay.
salary.
Yeah, all
Tennis
it
is
is
salary.
salary. So it's 2014-05, but it's only,
I feel like it was done after that.
I went on the
Was it?
website and I can't
Was it that
find
long? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I
We'll
put
double
in
check.
compensation as my search engine, like
Yeah.
in the search engine, but I didn't see it. So
Okay.
that was
Maybe
just
it was
one.
that long ago.
Yeah, because that was a big ticket item I saw. And I mean, please, we're dialing in. I don't want to get
What
too
do you,
minuscule.
what do you hope to achieve with that? You either want to have the ordinance or you want to take the health insurance away?
Well, I think I'm trying to figure out that I don't think, we're following kind of the letter of the law on a lot of this. And so I'm trying to dial in, how do we tighten up our budget?
Areas that we need to explore further.
Yeah, so that was just one thing that caught me when I was reading it. I mean, and I'm not trying to compare. What you have on your shoulders is totally different than mine. But I think I get 1,800 a year. I think it's 75 a meeting. So 75 times 24, we're about 1,800 a year. And then mayoral compensation is at 52. Or actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. 24 plus 20 is 46. So I'm just trying to figure out, and I was just digging into it, because once I saw the ordinance, I was like, I just wasn't
So
sure. about
Wade
the line
hopefully will
items.
be able to figure out if
Yeah.
there's areas that we need to take another look at and make sure that
Well,
we're
I guess I
in
can
compliance.
Yeah,
clarify from my position.
yeah.
This job sucks.
Oh, no, I'm not,
It sucks big time. And,
I
and let me
realize
just,
that.
let me clarify.
at $75 a meeting, let me tell you, it royally sucks.
Well, when I started, I didn't think I was getting anything.
Oh, no, and
This is a volunteer
oh,
position.
I did not do this for the money.
So, yeah.
At
but-
all.
But the amount of time that the mayor puts in is like, probably exceeds a full-time job. Yeah. And so I personally feel like giving him health insurance is justified. And I am happy to vote on an ordinance to keep it
Well,
in place.
we can't vote midterm. I don't think we can make
Yeah,
an
it's,
ordinance
once it's
midterm.
established, can you? Yeah.
So, I don't know. So it was just one of the items that I,
I'll have to, I don't think you can, but I think ordinances used to be drafted,
yeah, no, I know,
just thrown out, so.
yeah.
But something worth looking into adding to give extra compensation to the person that takes on the job.
I guess
Yeah.
I'll clarify even further.
Yeah.
Besides that this job sucks.
Yeah.
If,
I don't think you need to go any further, Mr.
if,
Mayor.
Yeah, I think that wrapped it up.
I didn't care about the compensation when I got here. I didn't realize that I was eligible for health insurance. And now that I have it, I can't imagine not having it. It's one more little perk, that I believe the mayor deserves. It's, in the whole scheme of things, if everyone wants to get crazy about it and take it away, then I would have to seriously consider my future because the amount of hours throughout the day that I spend here taking meetings, away from my family, away from my business, I'm losing money every hour I'm spending working for the town of Alpine. It is what it is.
I cataloged almost 150, I probably spent 36 hours cataloging for the gravel pit. Like, I don't doubt that. I just think, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just, I'm trying to balance where we're at on a budget. And, you know, at a certain point, does then the town council get health insurance? You know, how to, because right now, we're at 4% of your salary and benefits. And I feel like, yes, I don't even scratch the surface on what you meet behind closed doors or what's going on. And I'm not trying to dig deep on this. It was just one of the things as I looked at it.
It popped up on your radar and you wanted to explore.
So that's all.
Well, we'll be able to dig into a lot of line items for 2026 and see where we're at with everything that we need and everything that we may not.
Does anyone have any other comments regarding this budget?
No.
We'll make the same typo updates.
Yeah.
And then we'll go over this more in depth on the 28th. But is there any other discussion?
I mean, just, I'll reread this new one.
Yeah, definitely. And then make sure you have all your questions for next
Yeah.
Wednesday on that. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of ordinance number 2025-010, budget for fiscal year 2026 on first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Ordinance carries on first reading. Let's jump back to the Jorgensen Engineering.
Thanks,
And-
Monica.
Sorry.
Oh, it was, oh, sorry, Title 15.
Here, just hand me the sheet and I'll hand it to him.
Jim, we're going to go back to our Jorgensen Engineering topic and we waited for you to show up so we could get your. On this one, we wanted to invite Kevin to come and just give us a little bit of an update and make sure that we're all on the same page and that the public knows what's going on. But this is specific related to the pre-treatment plant and trying to get it over the finish line. We're having an issue with our vendor finishing the project.
Yeah.
And it's been a major undertaking, and Kevin has done yeoman's work to try to get it to this point. But Kevin, I'll invite you up, and maybe you could read your kind of summary. We have a longer email that was sent out that
Yes.
says very specifically all the timeframes from when Jorgensen was first hired, basically, and everything that you guys have gone through.
And the added hours that has cost the town.
Oh, it's
Review all of
exorbitant.
this.
Yeah, but anyways, I'll let you take the.
Sure. So basically, what I kind of put together a summary and turned into be 3 pages long, because basically every week we've had a weekly meeting, a status meeting, to go through and talk to the contractor where they're at, what the schedule looks like. We've got several items on the list that we go through. If there's any problems that come up, we put it on the list. So that way we can kind of keep track of any problems, keep track of any notes, any comments, those kind of things. So I went back into it and just I was going to do a high-level summary, and it turns into an in-depth summary for 3 pages. So then I pulled it back just to do a quick high-level as how we got started with this project. And this is strictly for the pre-treatment plant process piping. You've already had one contract for the underground work, then you had another contract for the building itself, and then this is to kind of fill in the inside with the Cambrian's MBR container, kind of put it all together and make it work. So that's where we're trying to get with that. So this goes back to July 11th of last year. Y'all signed the contract. The mayor signed the contract. July 16th, a job supervisor and a helper arrived on site. So, good things right there. Then we jumped to August 13th, and I had a 2-year electrical apprentice with his 6-month electrical apprentice doing conduit, and he was asking me for information on the National Electrical Code. And I'm not an electrician, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to have a journeyman on site when things are happening like that.
Right.
So that's one of the notes I made, and I talked to the job supervisor about that as well to try and see if, we could get that
That
done.
could be remedied.
Right.
Right.
So just this, the point of that was just to kind of see the type of people, the workforce that we are getting. Then you go to August 27th. The job supervisor in our meeting noted that now that the other projects are finished up, they'll get back on schedule. So it kind of tells you right there that they were putting our project behind to try and finish up other projects. July 17th, job supervisor notes more electricians next week after the Chipotle restaurant is finished. So that was August 27th to September 17th. Then it kind of skips between September 17th and all the way to December 3rd because we start having more qualified people as far as a lead journeyman electrician on the site. We would have 2 of those. We'd have a mechanical contractor on and off, and then we continue to have the job supervisor and his helper on it. So if you jump to December 3rd, basically says we have up to 6 people, 6 laborers, and the job supervisor and electrician on the site. So things are moving a little bit better now that we're getting to that point. Then I kind of jumped to February 18th, where y'all approved change order number 3. That was for some missing parts that we found that, come to find out, previous engineering group had an email that the contractor was supposed to provide that never got put into the contract documents. So there was like 60 items or so that the mechanical contractor was kind of missing on his side that were allocated. There's about 10 items that were on Cambrian's side that were missing. And then we thought that was it, and then we found this email, and that email had this group of items that was $39,000 for Precision to pay for. Not Precision, I'm sorry, for Cambrian to pay for, but Precision still had to install them. So that was kind of the missing link in that February 18th council meeting.
Okay.
So at that time, knowing that we had parts that didn't have anything to do with the contractor to get installed, they gave us a date of 6 to 8 weeks to get equipment. We gave them 9 weeks to get it done. That turns in April 30th for substantial completion.
Right.
They signed the change order and acknowledged that.
Was that our first extension?
No, that would be the third. There's 3 change orders on altogether.
Okay.
So in the end, we were supposed to have it done in October, and then we gave them 2 more after that.
Okay.
So for not really things that they did wrong in a sense, but things that we found in the drawings and the documents that we didn't have, so they needed more time to take care of it. But in the end, it's more time to do the project itself.
And those were but they had the documents, so they
They
should have
did.
been aware of the running list, but the list was not complete.
Yeah, I feel like when those first few months that went by, that they
Right.
didn't have a higher level of staff looking at things, they could have
Okay.
found some of those things.
Right.
If they would have been working towards this, we would have found those things that much sooner.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right, okay, so there was some missing.
Yeah. And that's what happens when you get behind on things, you push,
Right.
and then you don't have time to kind of do some things that you would probably do going through the process.
Right.
At a steady state. Then February 25th is the last date that we show that there's any workers on the site.
Okay,
March 18th, during the weekly discussions, found out no parts had been ordered. And in that, it's a 6 to 8 week lead item. And after y'all's February 18th meeting, I was actually in Texas that time. So I sent an email to them, and then I called them up the next day to let them know that, this is done, you're okay to go.
Right.
And then the mayor signed the change order after that. So they had lots of time to get going, I feel. After that, March 18th meeting, I sent out a Teams meeting request for the job project manager and for the job supervisor to see if we could talk about this, why the parts haven't been ordered.
and there was no correspondence prior to that, after you had said you have
I'd been
to go?
asking weekly about have the parts been ordered, and
Right.
it was, I'll talk to my boss, Val.
Okay,
And then the next week, have they been ordered? I need tracking numbers.
Right,
And it would be like, let me talk to my boss.
right.
So.
And
kind of
you're
a-
reaching out to them.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. And that's the nice thing about doing this weekly, every Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
Right.
So. And then, let's see,
April 8th.
that was, so April 8th, Precision said that they will, the parts, let's see. They said that the parts were ordered, and then at that point, it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks. So from,
We
yeah,
lost
the April 8th.
2 months.
Yeah, we lost that month and a half. And it's 6 to 8 weeks to get parts. You've got another 6 to 8 weeks to get going.
And there was still substantial completion was on April 30th.
It was still coming.
Change order that they signed, they knew about it.
Right.
Yes, yes, so they knew it was
That's
coming.
date.
Yeah.
And each meeting, I would talk about substantial completion date. And as we got into April, my font was getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
So, it's not that you couldn't miss it. The only way you could miss it is if you didn't read it.
Even on March 18th, to have a 6 to 8 week
Yeah.
completion date, you're
Yeah.
not going to make that.
So, yeah, and then
Okay.
at April 30th, the owner of Precision sent the mayor, myself, email basically requesting $133,000 extra, saying that the town
Delayed the process.
delayed the process
And that was the first request for,
for that.
And they were charging us $500 a day.
for inability to pay,
Liquidated
non-payment.
damages
Yeah.
that don't apply to us.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
And then, so we responded.
Yep.
Jim sent a letter to them notifying them of their non-compliance. And then on May 14th, the owner sent another email asking for more money.
yeah, basically saying the same thing he said on the 30th.
So they didn't respond to the non-compliance portion of
He
it,
was actually kind of offended that we had our attorney send
something in
send
response.
a letter and also said, I've got a lawyer too. I don't know
Yeah,
what that really means,
basically.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
And again, no
But-
request for another extension
No,
after the April
no,
30th.
just that's what they sent.
Completion date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and as of today, nobody else has been to the site except for their job supervisor coming by to pick up tools and leaving.
Okay.
So there's been no work done since that week of February 25th. So, and there's a lot of things out there. There's like glazing on the doors that can be done. There's lock sets that can be done. There's a lot of things that could have been pushed forward. So you could say that you've done everything you could to this point, but
Right.
they
To get
just
other
didn't,
lists
yeah.
done.
Right.
Okay. What percentage do we have outstanding at this?
Right now, it's $84,000 left on Precision's contract. So,
Do you feel 84,000 would appropriately cover all of the projects that are left to complete?
I would say if it was their contract to do it, because they know about it,
Right.
they know all the wires, they know
Right.
everything they've been doing, yes.
Okay.
It's going to take someone else some time to get up to
Yeah.
speed with what's
Yeah.
needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, rule of thumb is probably to say double that.
Yeah. So Kevin and I spoke today, and I think we're in agreement that really the only way that we can get this project over the finish line is by hiring someone else to finish the work. And what we could do is take, the original scope was however much, 600 and some $1,000, and try to find kind of a line that says like, we think this is what's left. And that would be, we'd put it out to bid to see who would do that amount of work for
Right.
$84,000.
Right.
And then at some point, they're gonna run out of money at $84,000, I'm sure. So then there would be essentially a change order that would come to us after that amount, and they would just work time and material. But we have to keep in mind that we have the performance bond that we can go back on them for
Okay.
to pay for everything above and beyond the $84,000.
Okay.
So want to make sure that, Jim, you're on the same page with that. But I think, like I said, the next step is to have Kevin work through the scope,
Of what's left?
figure
Right.
out
Okay.
as well as he can,
Right.
figure out what needs to happen.
Okay.
And we need to hire someone like as soon as possible to get it over the finish line.
And
So
did you say the
we can
parts
just
were
get it
here?
off
The
of our,
parts are here now?
They're actually,
The 60 items?
yes, they already got those pieces parts, but the parts that the town that y'all have bought from Cambrian
Yeah.
were delivered to Precision so they could track them and make sure they're there.
So
So,
they're at Precision
yes,
right
they
now.
are.
Which
And
we
not
have to
giving 'em-
figure out a way.
But our contract would secure that they
Would show back up.
Yeah, we'd have to,
delivered.
yeah, exactly, because they were going to do the work. They wanted to
Right.
make sure it was here. And at that point, we didn't have an operator that could actually check things in and out of the plant. So that's when we made that decision of, okay, let's get this going. That way we have a way of tracking what's coming in, what's going out.
And that valued equipment, that's the 86,000?
There's $39,000 in parts that y'all paid Cambrian to order, that should be sitting at Precision's dock.
Okay.
And I think that's another thing, we have to get those parts as soon as possible, so.
So the 84,000 is more labor than actual parts?
That's what they had left on their contract to finish.
So
Okay.
that's
So,
labor
yeah,
since we've paid.
that would be labor and pieces and
So
parts.
we may not go over budget. I mean, I would hope not. I mean, I don't want to.
We're going over
We're
budget.
going
It's, they're gonna. Well, so my question is,
I
and
mean-
forgive me, because I haven't
Contract negotiations, people.
looked at the whole bond.
But the problem is, we're not gonna be able to hire someone if we are that stringent. If we say,
I
you have to
know,
get
I'm
all
not
this
saying
done
that.
at
I'm not
84,000,
saying
we
that.
have to rely on the performance
Right.
bond to get us what we're gonna be short. The,
I guess
basically
that's my
damages we're
concern,
gonna,
is, yeah, will the performance bond, as you just said to Jim?
Jim,
Will it
give us your
cover it?
opinion on that.
Well, I mean, there's enough there that they're bonded for. The question, I mean,
Oh, okay.
I guess, are
Yeah,
we
what
at
are they
a point
bonded to?
where, that maybe we need to be discussing anticipatory repudiation?
It sounded like that's what that email came back.
Yeah.
Does that
I
bond,
went to law school.
Wow.
thank you for pulling it out.
Anticipated
I know, I think that's a
Anticipatory
suit. Is it?
repudiation.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And are we,
That's all I remember from contracts.
are we thinking they just got a better job and moved on, or is this retaliatory?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't. I
They're a
mean,
brand new company, relatively new
Right.
company,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But the culmination of their work
Right.
and what we had seen when they were on the job site, they did really good work. Yeah. But we thought we were going to get one electrician.
Yeah, you gotta do.
And yeah, he moved up the ladder and then we got 3 different ones or 2 different ones after that.
So,
So,
It should also be said that the subcontractor they hired is trying to get money from Precision as well.
Because they weren't paid.
They weren't paid,
okay.
so
And-
I
So
would
we have a
suspect
cash
they
flow
have,
issue.
they have a cash flow issue, exactly.
All the extra expenses, like the engineering extra expenses for, trying to source another provider.
Those would all be damages,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Now, the question is whether the bonding company's gonna step in and go, sure, we'll pay those.
Right.
I don't think they're
How do
gonna
we
pay them
find out
without
what
some
their-
sort of, well, they
Well, the
they
bonds
send us
were
a copy of,
125% of
yeah,
the
they send
total
us a
contract,
copy.
Right. I
yeah.
think it's
So it's
634.
125% of the total bid, so.
Okay.
Which was 600,000, so.
Yeah, so I think we're okay there,
Okay.
but the question is the mechanics to getting to that point where we claim against their bond and that they pay. I think that, I mean, that's a long, hard slog
Right, because there's
Down
fees
the-
on multiple
down. the-
levels with that. Okay,
I think we just need to be prepared to get it over the finish line
Right.
and then figure it out after the fact. But what we wanted to put it out, that maybe we need some sort of motion of some action that we want to take in this public
Well-
meeting, and,
So, okay,
Well, I
I don't
don't-
mean to interrupt you, but.
yeah. Do you
So,
think
so
I'm
here are
going
the
right way?
options. Yeah, I think here are the options. Kevin, do you still continue to work with them, pull them along and say, this is crazy, we're not doing that, this is where you're at, come in and get it done? The soft hand approach, or do we just go for a full notice of termination? And these are the consequences, don't show up on our site, you'll probably be getting served with a lawsuit.
well,
we wanna
predicated on
offer-
that, would we trust them to finish the project?
Well, I mean, if
That's
you're a
where
new
I'm at with
company,
it.
if
Right.
you're a new company, you don't want to claim
A
on
claim.
your bond
Yeah.
as far as your record. I mean, that's,
Especially from a town.
yeah, well, just anybody.
Anybody.
I mean, yeah, that's just
They'd be
bad for you.
unbondable at that point.
Yeah,
likely.
you wouldn't be able to.
Basically insurance policy.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And so, you know, maybe there is something that, that might motivate them if Kevin, I mean, the problem is, and it's not because I don't want to do work, is what he brought up. You bring your lawyer into it, I'm bringing in mine. I don't mind getting involved in it, but it's going to stop
Right.
any progress
Right,
that you're
right,
going to make
right.
whatsoever.
Well, if it's the owner sending, I would say, let's move up to the top. But if this is the owner communicating with us, then my only fear would be, and I always like the soft hand approach, would be, do you, seeing the work that they've done, knowing their personalities and trying to base some type of reputation off of what you've seen, do you feel comfortable with having them come back in? That would take a higher level of monitoring, checks and balances, and making sure that they are indeed doing quality work for the remainder of the contract.
I think they would be doing the quality work because I think their guys in the field are doing quality work.
Okay,
I think where they're lacking is somebody who, we thought we were going to get this guy named Val on it, who's
Right.
very qualified. He's a very good electrician.
Right.
That he can read documents very well. And I think his electricians in the field struggle with that a little bit. And then getting the documents to them.
right,
The town actually paid for a full set of documents, even though we emailed them all the documents to make sure that they had all the set of documents in the field.
Yeah.
Because their guys in the field did not have all those documents.
okay.
You know, y'all paid for a 3D program that their bosses didn't get them set up for and bring in a piece of equipment that they could actually use the 3D drawings. So I think it's more of a management side, that I feel like the work itself is going to be a good work, but as far as getting them there to do it at this point, I mean, we've been asking for, I mean, the great thing, the job supervisor who's been there, except the April 22nd meeting, he's come to every meeting, virtually or been in on the site.
So he's been
I
involved.
think he really wants to get it done.
Right.
But
That's where you found where everyone is, because he answers like, well, we're finishing up Chipotle and then we're going to be here, and then, whatever. But, I mean, the fact that they haven't had anyone there since
Yeah.
February 25th, what are the chances they're going to come in?
So that'd be my thing, as far as going with the soft hand, what worries me is if they have subs that aren't getting paid, are we now standing in line to get paid? And where,
But they have to go after the contractor.
Right,
Yeah.
correctly.
now
so
they're,
would that, our bond with them get us ahead of that line? Would we essentially just be dealing with the bond company as opposed to
We
the?
would be dealing with the bond company.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what the contract is between.
That's between them. the
Okay, that's what I
vendor,
want to know,
yeah.
is if that sub, we're not just standing in line behind other subs if they're going down, okay.
Nope.
yeah, and
Because
Well, they signed a contract.
we're the payee on
Right.
it,
Right.
not them.
Let me ask you a
Now-
question, Jim. What if for some reason they claim bankruptcy tomorrow? Would we still have an opportunity to go after their bond, or,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I don't,
There's clawback. The
Okay.
little I remember about bankruptcy, you can't.
okay.
yeah.
The protection only goes so far.
Yeah,
And-
and generally, when they go and they declare bankruptcy, it's after they get a judgment, so.
Okay.
But Mountain West Mechanical did all the mechanical as far as the piping itself. The change order that y'all signed, part of Precision's was $27,000. Their part of that was $17,000. And I asked them if they would come back and work directly for the town to finish up, and they said they would love to. So that's the mechanical side.
Okay.
There's still electrical pieces that would go into it as well. So that's the nice thing is it'd be great to get a contractor back that's been on the job site, and he does good work. So it'd be great to get him back. He was kind of hard to get. You could tell, and it could have been part of the payment problems, that he wasn't always here when I thought they were here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but he did say that he would come back if he got to work directly with the town.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need a specific motion here or anything, it's up to you guys, but I just think if we want to go with the soft hand approach, we give Kevin one more opportunity, and then we figure out what we want to do for the June
Yeah.
3rd meeting, if we
Well,
want
then
to
it-
take any action.
Right, then it'd have to
You
have
guys fine with that?
a strict deadline
So-
on when we want to hear back.
Jim, I just want to let you know that the letter to the bond company was returned today.
Return not deliverable?
Yes, the address, that it was addressed, and I didn't, I apologize, I didn't check it. Apparently, that's not a good according to mail. It's not a good address and cannot be forwarded. They returned it to us. It took them more than 2 weeks to do so, but there is information at the bottom of the bond where, what agent they utilized to get to that bonding company. So shall I just call them, find out how we delivered to them the most quickly? We could even email it to them.
Yes. Well,
Okay, I'll take care
I
of that.
think it needs to be also sent
Certified.
certified.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it.
So is it the Lexan Insurance
Mm-hmm.
Company?
So now we have.
Yeah, we sent it to the address at the top, is how it was addressed by Jim. But we're gonna contact the people at the bottom.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So-
Then, yeah, my suggestion is if the council wants to do soft approach, that we put a really firm deadline on that date
I mean-
for response.
For me, the soft approach is I've been sending them emails every week
Right?
Yeah.
about the statuses.
Right.
I've sent them emails, I've sent them Teams requests, I've called them, left voicemail messages.
Right.
And what we get back is a letter, I've got a lawyer too.
Okay.
So
So we,
I'm
Okay.
not sure,
from your perspective,
your-
we
yeah.
kind
They're
of
checked out.
exceeded the soft touch
Yeah.
approach.
I think I've been doing a soft touch approach since February
Yeah.
25th.
Let's try this. You've been doing the sunny side up. Let's go to over medium, and
Okay.
then we'll go to hard boiled later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll figure that out.
they
It's-
have-
I
do
think
they
it's
have
already
a-
scrambled.
Do they have a store, I say a storefront, but this address in Rigby?
That's their shop, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We've got a physical address where we've
I-
been shipping
I
Where our
parts.
stuff is?
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is it worth,
you need to
not
Send a
you.
trailer.
What I would suggest is you keep the conversation going with the communication through email or whatever, and ask them to get all those parts back, and let's just see
Right.
how they react to that. And then we'll figure out at the next meeting if we have to take further action.
right.
Right,
Because,
that's a longer wait if we'd have to replace the parts, plus the expense upfront.
So
for
we
the,
pay 30
those parts from Cambrian were 4 weeks,
Okay.
so, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, if it's just
And-
in Rigby, hopefully we can
Yeah.
get that worked out.
I'll drive over and pick them up if
Well, yeah,
that's.
because if we have to spend 39,000 again for parts,
Right,
I would think that would come out of the bond.
less
but-
wait time, right, but it's just upfront.
If we can
Right,
get them all.
exactly.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, you're happy with that
I'm
approach for
happy
now?
with that.
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Moving down the list, next we have a resolution appointing Gina Corson. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 2025-018, a resolution appointing Gina Corson as the acting planning and zoning administrator for the town of Alpine, Wyoming.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. So this is pretty much just a little red tape, but we have to have, this is a appointed position with the town of Alpine. So Gina has already stepped in and is working diligently, and we're very happy with her work that she's already provided for us, even before this change happened. So she's doing a great job, and we do need to have someone in that position. And basically, the acting description on there is basically just a short-term thing to get somebody in there. And then, yeah, we hope that Gina becomes the permanent. So,
Was Christine appointed as, because you have to have all of your heads of
so every,
department appointed,
every
correct?
January, she
Okay.
was appointed as the
Okay.
planning and zoning administrator. Yep. So,
And Gina's position prior to this position, her official title was,
she was assistant. or-
Office assistant.
Office assistant,
okay,
yeah, but she was directed to help Christine with planning and zoning.
right.
So she was brought up to date really quickly with all that goings on.
That was my only question with acting and appointments, because I know appointments work differently as far as employment and what you can and cannot do. So my only question was acting, does that come with a probationary period?
The-
How do we work?
Yeah, and so her letter does say that she is, the mayor and I discussed it, and she is acting. She has a probationary period for 90 days.
Okay,
We want to ensure that the town of Alpine has the right person in this position, and that's not anything negative against Gina. Everything we've seen, even, when Christine was here, they worked well together. So But that's our goal. So she
Okay.
has a 90-day probationary period in the new role.
I didn't know Christine was going to be leaving so soon, and so I guess I would feel more comfortable at a 6-month probationary versus 90 days. Because I don't even, do we know what her title was at Star Valley Ranch?
Zoning
Or what her,
administrator.
she was the zoning administrator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm totally comfortable with 90 days from the standpoint that she was already doing that, and she is excelling in the short time she's been in this role already. Her communication skills via email and in person have been exemplary, and I think this is, a great position for her, and she's doing good things, so.
Jim, what are the restrictions as far as appointments? Let's say she's wonderful, we want to go ahead and make her a full-time. Are there any additional restrictions as opposed to, like, letting someone go versus an employment position? I'm just trying to understand appointments because I didn't dig into it before this.
I guess, what do you mean by restrictions?
Is it more difficult? Do you have to set up requirements for promotions, that sort of thing in advance?
Everyone serves at the pleasure of the mayor.
Yeah, that's.
That's
yeah,
right.
Everybody serves
Okay.
at the pleasure of the mayor. That's the,
Okay.
That's it.
whatever his pleasure is.
Yep.
And this job sucks.
Very.
I had talked to Star Valley Ranch and they said that there's just additional provisions when it comes to appointments and it can be more difficult versus a regular employment. So
I
make
do
sure
believe,
I understood.
I do believe there's some statutory language surrounding the clerk.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's the clerk,
okay,
right. yeah.
It's a clerk position specifically.
okay.
All the rest of us are just,
That has to be, it has to come to council.
Yeah,
I think 90 days. is
You
a
can
good
fire me,
period.
but it has to come to you to do so.
Okay,
That's all.
okay.
I think 90 days is a good period for evaluation. At 90 days, we can evaluate where she's at and see if we need another 90 days before we move forward.
Right.
But we don't want to wait 6 months before we evaluate her performance. That's
that was our.
Oh, I
thought.
wouldn't want to wait 6 months to evaluate her. I just meant a 6-month probationary.
Well,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what a
That's what a
probationary.
Yeah, I
period
guess you're right,
is.
because you're going to review her. Okay.
But,
So then we would do another assessment at 90 days and then we, okay.
Decide which way we
yeah,
want
we
to
can,
go.
reconvene in 90 days if that's, we'll have to do that if she becomes we drop the acting and she becomes the permanent, so anyways.
so,
Yes,
just further, there is the 15.2.102 that says that the town may set by ordinance conditions of promotion, firing, et cetera, but I don't think we have that. It's sort of, so,
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I didn't know,
That-
it
that
didn't
may
sound
be
like
what
we
they're
had done
talking
that in the
about.
past. Okay.
yeah. But it's a may.
It's a nay, not a
Yes.
shall.
Not a will.
And in the meantime, we're comfortable? Do we advertise? Do we just
No, we're
take the
comfort-
probational period as it is?
our plan is to, we're totally comfortable with her in that position, and at this point, basically, we don't have a position to hire someone else right now, because we've given extra duties to our code enforcement officer, and she's gonna help Monica with the financial stuff,
The pay.
the payables and stuff like that, so,
So it actually saves us a position at this point
Right,
over what we would have had before, so.
right.
yeah. But anyways, we'll figure it out in 90 days, but, yeah, Gina's doing a great job, so, I would like to keep moving forward unless there's further discussion. All right, all those in favor of resolution number 2025-018, resolution appointing Gina Corson as the acting planning and zoning administrator for the town of Alpine, Wyoming, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Resolution carries. Next is the review and award proposal for painting and staining Town Hall. We could get a motion on the table and then we could make an amendment with the person unless someone sees another way to go about it.
Make a motion to review and award proposal for painting, staining the Alpine Civic Center from bids provided.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded, discussion. I don't have, oh, maybe you have them on here, Monica. Sorry. Okay, so we have a letter from Craig, basically saying that he was really, he got the references for A Square Builders.
That one's for the town hall,
Okay,
for the civic center.
Civic Center, okay. And he had a very positive impression of Pro Finish Painting. So we have Alvarez, Pro Finish Painters, Western Quality Drywall, and an estimate. That is the one for the Civic Center?
Yeah, those are all.
Okay.
Those are all Civic Center.
And last time, we talked about splitting up the bids, so inside and outside. I'm sorry?
Those are for the civic center.
This is only for the Civic Center?
Yeah, the next one up, the tabled item.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for the confusion. Alpine Civic Center. Listen to the motion, Eric. Okay. So we have Alvarez and then paint everything to preferred color of exterior building, includes rafters. My concern about Western Quality Drywall, it doesn't say anything about prepping. Alvarez, pressure washing, prepare for stain, masking, windows, all the things that you would expect. And then Pro Finish, again, pressure wash, remove loose paint, scrape off and sanding in spots, prepare beams, post siding. I mean, I think they have the most included in their bid from Pro Finish. If anyone has been by the Civic Center lately, it's in need, extreme need of stain, those posts. It's bad, and Mr. Scow has brought that up to us in previous meetings. Let's just look in really quick at the price. So Pro Finish is $23,000.
I think they have one you didn't click on.
Sorry. I think so. Okay. And this one is Rocky Mountain Custom. Oh, theirs is substantial.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you have a range.
And it's a large range.
Wait, on Rocky Mountain Custom?
Well, from the highest to the lowest.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain seems to have the most language on there, and they have the lowest bid.
Yeah. Like getting after it.
Yeah.
That was a lot more comprehensive than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craig, did he say, he didn't talk to these guys, did he?
Mm-mm.
Dan, do you know any of these?
I do.
I know Pro Finish, I mean, there's,
Yeah.
you know, to be honest, you're pressure washing, you're staining your project, I mean, it's really,
Very big.
it's pretty basic stuff.
Yep.
Right.
It's an $8,720 job.
Pardon?
It's an $8,720 job.
I'd probably say that you're into it for that. I think that when you get to the purlins that are hanging up the beams, they're starting to rot. I think there's gonna have to be some, epoxy wood stuff put on it and then capped so it stops the rot.
We have the caps already, by the way.
You're gonna have to do something there.
Yep.
But I mean, it's close, and I totally agree with you. The more language, the better it is for you to understand what it is. So, I know propane, so, I mean,
And I know
Oops.
Alvarez.
You know, oops, I might have just
Julio
deleted them.
Alvera.
Oh, here you go.
Dan, you've been bringing this up for a while, but for you, is this we need to get this done in another year concern? Looking at the structural, looking at the rot, are these things that, thank you. Want to come up and discuss it?
hold on. Say that again?
Okay, will you turn on your mic and I'll talk to you? Thank you.
By the
Since
way,
you got
yeah,
up.
Dan Scow is a contracting legend in the area.
It's 8:53, Flattery's the name of the day. In your opinion, because I'm just looking at budget, and obviously, if it's something that looks like it might be $13,000 to $15,000, I'll consider that. But in your personal opinion, when you look at the Civic Center and its need, do you feel like this is something that we should put off for another year, or
No.
you feel like it's already been put off long enough?
I think if you were to do anything.
Right,
You have to do the beams.
The
and
exterior.
purlins And put the caps on it.
okay,
I mean, the building itself doesn't look as bad. This looks worse.
Right.
On the exterior.
right,
But I think that if you just tackled the beams, the purlins, cap them, I think you're saving that structure.
Right.
Because it's starting to, those are laminated posts and
Right.
beams, and they're starting to delaminate.
yes, okay.
So,
Okay.
But for our bids, we did the entire square footage of
correct.
the Civic Center.
There's also some of it doesn't end up getting stained, I don't think. Not all of it is.
Well, is it paint or stain?
It's super deck, or it says super paint.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's,
It says exterior latex painting.
yeah, it's paint.
So
Okay.
I would think that this is, and it's two coats.
Two
I
coats
mean,
of the building.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dan, I believe you meant this building has more character. It's not worse. It's got more character.
This has got, yeah, it's old.
Character.
It needs this needs love too. You know, if budget was an item, and I would seriously look at that.
Right.
If it was mine.
Right.
I would say, I'm gonna do the beams right now.
Right.
I'll hold off on the paint till next.
right,
That, if it was a piece where you wanted to balance out your budgetary items, I think that building could sustain another year of paint. The beams and purlins can't.
that was my question,
They're
because it would
already
be nice,
beyond,
right,
you
Does it
know,
have
Okay.
that on here?
they're
to
beyond.
take some of that and tackle
So,
other
I mean,
buildings.
You're gonna have a team there to dress it
know,
up,
that's the problem.
and you do have some funds
Doesn't really
for
say
it.
the beams.
You know, in my expertise, we throw out the high, we throw out the low, and then we look at the middle. And, you know, I haven't really gone through these, I haven't had the opportunity to look at them, but.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 6,000.
Language is not always the gift
right,
that you're looking for.
I don't see the beams.
Mm-mm.
is it,
But it'll tell you, you know, if you go through it, he doesn't have the beams, maybe he's painting the beams. But I don't know.
Oh, wait, trim sanding.
it says vertical beams, trim sand the vertical beams
Yeah,
on the east side of the building.
that's probably it.
So if you're gonna trim it, and, I mean, if you're gonna sand it,
Sand the vertical.
Right.
beam.
On the east side, so that's gotta be that part
Right.
right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay,
that's incredible.
that's very sage
Yeah.
advice, thank you, Dan.
But I mean, I look at that, to do that entire building at 13,000,
It's crazy, isn't it?
that's pretty crazy.
Great. It's a crazy good deal, and
And so those are the pieces, when I'm doing it,
Right.
like, okay, what did I miss?
yeah.
Or what did you miss?
Well, it says northeast, west sides of the building. If you scroll further down, Mr. Mayor, you can see
I mean, if you take the average of all your quotes, I mean, They
northeast,
gotta
south
be
sides of the
40%.
building.
they gotta be 40% less.
This is like less than half of the high bid.
Yeah. I'm just, that would concern me, you know?
Yeah.
But,
I agree.
Well,
But-
Veris is 19.
Yeah,
And then we have 8720.
I'm here for all the questions.
Thank you, thank you,
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
Tip your waitress.
yeah.
Exactly.
Just,
They didn't go into specifics,
No.
correct? Okay.
if Councilmember Scafidi knows them personally, I think
Oh, I mean-
if we chose them, would you be willing to work with them to make sure they got exactly what, or do you feel comfortable with
Yeah,
that?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So the bidding process, did they walk around with Craig on the building? Or did they, oh, they did? Okay, so that makes me feel better, because I feel like, yes, you're right.
In
It's-
fact,
it's a
he
slimmer.
said, he gave us the correspondence.
Yeah, I got the email.
No, I just wanted to see who
Oh,
he asked for references.
I agree with what Dan said about taking out the high and taking out the low and then working in the middle.
yeah.
But I am a little concerned about the low bid. I don't want to get a half job out of them, but I like the price. But I kind of lean a little bit more towards Pro Finish and
And Olveris.
Alvarez, and to be honest, Pro Finish is the one that they've put just a little bit more on there, and it's more clear, but I don't think we could go wrong if we chose either one of those two. I have experience working with Pro Finish painting as well. Excellent, excellent work. I'm sure I've run into Alvarez on a job site in the past. You do? Okay. So I would leave it. Let's just take a straw poll. Does anyone have a really strong feeling one way or the other on this?
I trust Alveris, but I don't want to speak
Yeah.
out of.
We just, it's good to hear that Alvarez, because just looking at their bid paperwork, it's extremely minimal.
Yep.
I feel more comfortable with a 19 since I really wanted to shoot for 15 than I would. I'm happy throwing out lowest and highest. But if somebody on the council does have experience with them.
Well, we
I'm
also
happy
have
looking at
other
that.
business tonight, so if that conversation affected this, then I would say let's go for the low one and just hope that they perform. I mean, it's laid out really,
Right.
really well.
Right, it's really comprehensive.
And to be honest, Dan's right, like, that building needs a little less love than this one does. But if they're going to do what they have laid out here, I feel comfortable that we can hold them to that.
Right.
In that sense, so.
Well, and again, you're right, you bring up a good point. Even if there are extra hours or places where maybe they feel like they could have estimated better, we'd still have plenty of room as opposed to trying
Yeah.
to get somebody down.
For sure.
Okay.
Has anybody worked with these guys before?
Do we know where they came from? Sue?
No,
Oh,
you've
no,
worked
I've
with
never,
RM?
I haven't, no, does that Nebaker? Who, wait, what's,
What's the name of
is
the?
it? Yeah,
Sam
it's
Nebaker.
Sam Nebaker.
Okay.
I haven't worked with him. I don't.
Does anyone know him?
Turn on your mic.
You have experience with Alvarez?
Yeah, yeah. But
I'd kind of rather go, that way with, even with their minimal,
well, I think contractually, hopefully,
we'll
define.
kind of say what they
So
want.
what are your thoughts on this one, though, with all the information and being at 13,000?
I definitely, it definitely fills the gap of all the info. I just, does anybody have any experience with them? That's where I kind of like,
It's the almond one.
no, the West.
Rocky Mountain Coast
Rocky Mountain.
Painting.
Oh, right.
I definitely like their
In Afton.
bid, it's just.
I know, his bid is beautiful.
They definitely put,
A nice bid
Well, I
goes a
like
long
that
way,
he
I will
broke it
tell
out.
you.
I mean,
broke
each
out.
area with
Yeah.
labor, which I like.
And they have all their hours on there? like-
That's what I like
yeah.
to see, that they're thinking of the labor. You'll enjoy outstanding Venetian and color retention. You're putting everything in. Okay, well,
I know.
Okay.
Does it?
Oh, wait.
all right.
Personally, I think
You do
it's
see
worth
that it's
a
something
shot,
that
but
labor could change.
In the event of additional time required, a half rate offer can be
this labor
considered.
estimate is based on the information provided and is subject to change.
Okay,
It's pretty thorough, which is nice.
oh, there's his number and everything. We don't need to call him right now, but
I don't know.
why not? It's only 9:00 at night. Does anyone have, would rather not go with this bid? How about that?
I'm concerned about the note to the customer.
Oh,
I just
Estimate for
read it,
painting,
that's an estimate based on the information provided, but the labor's subject to change. I don't like the idea of it being subject to change.
yeah, I don't like that either.
do they, Alvarez did not say that?
No.
No, yeah,
Okay,
that is a.
I didn't know if that was implied.
That's kind of a red flag.
Good disclaimer on their part,
Maybe.
but,
I think
yeah.
Yeah.
since more people have experience with Oliveris and they're local to Star Valley, I like that.
I'm totally comfortable with them. Like I said, I'm comfortable with Pro Finish
We're all
and
Afton.
Alvarez, so.
Yeah, and like I say, Alvarez could definitely do a better job and
Okay.
descriptive on the invoice and the bid, but having having the references goes a long way for me.
Okay. Would you guys be open to basically a motion that allows me to negotiate with them and talk to them, and we hire either Profinish or Alvarez, and I'll talk to Alvarez first and make sure we're on the same page. If for some reason they come back and say, oh, I didn't know you wanted the posts in or something like that, then we'll, I'll communicate with everyone. There you go. You got it. Oh, you probably, someone's texting you to say, I'll do it maybe.
My daughter is home.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to amend, to have Mayor Green work with Profinish and Alvarez, working out the contract with his final approval.
Are we doing a not to exceed? Sorry, are we gonna do a not to exceed?
Yeah,
'Cause I
not
feel
to,
like
not to exceed $14,000.
Okay.
How much?
You
14,000?
missed that.
Or, I mean, sorry, not to exceed 24,000.
24,000.
I was on,
Well-
I was on Alvarez.
It either had to come down
But
to
between
19.
Pro Finish and Rocky Mountain, that's a $10,000 difference.
Right,
And
but,
if Olveris is around 19,
I would say not to exceed,
20.
exceed his bid.
I think 20.
okay, well, we have a motion
Okay,
on the
sorry.
table, so, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, discussion. I see what you're saying.
Because then
Ba-
we're just.
basically-
I would like to
we're
put a
back
not to
What I wanted to point out is that if we kick out Rocky Mountain just because of that one stipulation, then we go to the next two. I think Western Quality would probably be out of the running. And then we know what Pro Finish Painting is
Right.
going to provide. I'm willing to work with Alvarez to make sure they will provide the same thing that Pro Finish will.
That
If they
makes-
need to update their
Right.
whatever.
Data.
And if it ends up being similar to Pro Finish Painting, then I think we're up in the air. And then if you guys are comfortable, I can just work through that to get it over the finish line and get this started as soon as possible. But in an effort to move things forward, I think you said the motion, do you want to restate
So
it?
you'll start. with
Yeah,
all
so
that?
I'll restate my motion to amend, to have Mayor Green work with Alvarez and Pro Finish on the contract for the Civic Center, and at his choosing, pick one of those two companies, but not to exceed, what do we feel comfortable with then? Because if we go with, if we go with Pro Finish, they were the
I still
high
say
bidder at
20.
I still say
32,240.
20.
I think that gives us plenty of room, and Pro Finish might come down.
So say
How about-
25,000?
How about meeting,
Alvarez
what about
will-
meeting in the middle? Between the
Well,
two?
then we're still 9,000 more than the other, but
Well, 21,000 is meeting in the memo between Olveris and Pro Finish. I'm not trying to get in the weeds, I just think that we should have a,
Or we just choose
I think
Alvarez not
Alvarez.
to exceed 20,000?
yeah.
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I
Okay,
think that's-
then make my
Amend
motion.
again.
Sorry.
Make my motion to amend Mayor Green to work with Alvarez Construction Paint and Cleaning LLC to paint the Civic Center not to exceed $20,000.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Andrew beat you to it. We have a second discussion. So I will work with them to make sure they were on the same page. If for some reason they're like, oh, I didn't know about that, then we'll just
We'll
bag it
reassess.
until June.
Okay.
And that's what, if you guys are comfortable with that, then that's what I'll do.
Okay.
Okay? All those in favor of said motion, say aye.
Amended
Aye.
motion?
We're on the amended motion. Dang it, sorry.
Aye.
All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, now we're back to the original motion. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of original motion?
Updated motion?
Updated motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. All right, great. Thank you. I will give them a call tomorrow. All right, now we have one tabled item, which is for painting Town Hall. And Sarah has gone through and asked them to cut out the interior and exterior. So we have more information.
I'll make a motion to remove from the table the review of proposals submitted for painting the town hall and to award the project.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Discussion.
We just want to take this off the table?
Yes, let's take it off the table.
I guess my only discussion, well, I
We-
guess this
we're-
is just about
just
coming
taking
off.
this off.
We're voting to take it off the table right now. Any discussion on taking it off the table?
I feel like it should stay on the table.
Okay.
And I'm only saying this, I think where I'm at is I feel like we're doing this master plan and we're trying to get an idea of what utilization we do with our buildings and what plans we have. And yes, I know this building needs a lot, on the outside. But a part of me, if the master plan came back and said, hey, you guys need to start making capital, you gotta start making rent, does this building become a rental and we move to the civic center? And I get that the outside should still be painted, but I guess I feel like we're painting the civic center, do we hold off
On the town hall.
on the town hall?
Okay,
That is
any
my
other discussion?
I think this building still needs to be maintained. It's been an awful long time since any work was done.
Yeah.
I don't even know, we can't even find out when the last time the outside was stained.
And would we switch to paint? Because I was gonna say the stain, I feel like, I guess that's a discussion that is
Yeah.
off the table.
As far as taking it off the table,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, to me, I don't think the comp plan would change us needing to maintain this building.
It's an
If it
asset
turned into a rental, we'd still need to paint it inside and out
and replace the carpet.
and replace the carpet.
Any further discussion on taking it off the table? All those in favor of taking it off the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. Motion carried, so it's now back on the table. I've brought up these bids.
Some of actually the exterior stains are
Make a
really
motion to
reasonable.
award proposal for interior painting of town hall.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded, discussion.
Can we just do the exterior?
That's,
That could definitely be
that's always a good,
I don't know, for
Option.
me, I just feel like it's a lot to paint the interior, and I know it would be lovely, but if we could just keep the maintenance like Andrea said, on
And
the
just do the
outside,
exterior.
that I feel like is,
I think it needs to be maintained on the outside and the inside. It's pretty shabby in here. And again, if in a year from now, when the master plan is complete and we need to move into the civic center and turn this into a rental, we'll be a step ahead by already having painted it.
I guess the
Done
only
the-
question
done
is the
the,
renter, does the renter, what if they turned it into a medical office or?
Yeah, I don't mind meeting on the inside. If we really need the exterior, then that's something that I'm happy that they broke up and would be
let's
happy
just
to
look at
at.
exterior real quick.
Yeah, so how many
this bid
bids are
is-
there?
we
I'm
have
looking
And
four.
they're
through this too.
wildly
We have 5.
different.
So exterior is 15,000 for that
18,000?
one. 18,900 for Pro Finish.
Wait, so,
Alvarez, this is just for the outside.
That was just for the exterior. This one's the interior.
They're both
Oh,
14,000
14.
inside and
No,
outside.
Pro Finish was,
18,900.
yeah.
What was the first one? Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going, the first one is
A
A
squared,
squared, theirs is 15.
15.
Then Pro Finish is 18,900.
Mm-hmm.
Alvarez is 14.
Oh, and then our
Our very
RM
detailed.
guy is
yeah.
back. Maybe-
8720. Yes.
Yeah, they say two
Yes.
coats.
Yeah. No, great catch.
Okay, so
Oh,
80,
so RM was 11,650. Maybe this is his shot.
exterior stain, so Western Quality Drywall, who was the most expensive on
The last
Civic
bid
Center.
is now saying 220 a square foot instead of 4 plus.
Okay.
No,
exterior
why,
stain
why?
includes deck, stairs,
Oh.
both sides, handrails, deck.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wait, 5596?
Yeah. Okay, well, 5596 sounds great. I can get behind that.
It seems to have,
Job tidy.
Now it's stain, not paint.
right.
Right.
And
So
all of
the
them
others
are
are-
stain, I believe.
No, it says paint. Oh, no, you're right, super deck.
We
So,
bid for staining for the
yeah, we didn't
Town hall.
specify paint.
paint.
Oh.
I mean, is that what you want, is super deck? Because
I
that's a
don't-
totally different look.
I know,
Right.
because I feel like you're just, when you stain buildings this,
Well, he's the
No,
only one
Dan.
that said
Dan's
super
like-
paint. Oh my gosh, you guys.
Whatever lasts the longest.
that's how I feel. Maybe the super paint exterior is the way to go.
Dan, I don't know.
To be honest, I'd go to a solid body stain.
Okay,
Semi-solid stain, that's what we did on our house, and it's just gonna last so much longer.
Yeah. We go gray or something, less brown.
Yes.
Shay
I
can be in
agree with that. Shay's our interior designer.
okay, so let's
do we
break
have-
this up.
Do we need to, rebid this? Oh my God. If we want,
No,
A
because
different
they did them
material.
separate. Oh, you mean a different material,
instead of stain, to go to
semi.
semi-transparent paint.
Or we could just,
That
I
changes.
mean, if
the
one
scope.
stands out, we could pick
Right.
one, do it not to exceed, you negotiate it, say, hey, you know, what
And
about
do you
with
give
this, where do you
RM?
come back not
From
to
a
exceed
stain
X
to a
amount?
semi?
I
Dollars.
look at it just as a.
Or, yeah, we just rebid
Okay,
it.
then it's better
Say,
to,
look, we're wanting to do exterior only, or if we
You could
do
be a
interior, we
change.
want this interior with this kind of paint, exterior with
Okay.
that kind of paint. What?
can you say that, Jim?
You can award the contract and just do a change order.
Perfect.
If we wanted to do.
So just do it not to exceed.
Or maybe the RM guy?
Well, no, well, drywall's,
So real quick, your drywall is deck, stairs, handrails, deck skirting, ramp, deck, doors, and door trim.
I think everyone has that, right?
Wait, but it's not saying,
building.
Doing the building.
it's not doing the building.
What?
Yeah,
Well, read it again.
yeah. That's what I was just gonna say
25,
next. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
I don't mean to, but am I reading that
No,
right?
you're not reading it wrong.
Okay,
That's
Oh
what it
my
says.
gosh.
that,
But here's my question. For the deck, the stairs, the handicap
Oh.
ramp, does that seem like it adds up to 2544 square feet?
well, and did everybody else
Isn't
bid that?
2544 what we're at?
This building is around 5,000 square feet, so I don't know how
Oh.
they calculate that.
Okay.
Dan, do they do just walls? Okay.
Oh, he has sanding the decks.
RM. does.
RM. I mean, which I
Wait.
would hope, but.
But I don't think drywall did. Did they say sand?
No.
No. Or pressure wash?
And then also, if you look at pro, some walls need 2 coats of stain.
That's
I would
actually
say all
smart.
walls need 2 coats of stain.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get in the weeds
Yeah.
on this too far, but what I think we should do is pick one person here that we think can get it done, and then we do not exceed, and then if it's going to go above that, then we just come back and do a change order.
Okay.
You know,
If you guys are fine with that.
yeah, I mean, my thought would be to go with Alvarez again, see if we can,
Right.
do a package deal of like,
Right.
hey, what about this, and then what about that?
Did theirs look like they did?
Alvarez.
Okay. Sand, okay.
No, this isn't, oh, was that it?
He
Here.
did 1414 for both.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
sanding decks and rails, removing and replacing broken 2x4, covering masonry.
Why does it not say
Show me
stain?
Basically, just letting you negotiate, and that way
You just did.
they're informed and.
Scrape, cover, sand, masonry. Okay.
So
I mean, you could see if you
14.
could get a better deal.
let me just see.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
You guys are all gonna be contractors now.
Oh my gosh, this is not fun. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Just need to outsource this to Craig going forward.
Well, I think that your idea of going to the same two.
For
painters
both,
that you
mhm.
have For both, is
Right.
gonna get you a little bit, it's one that's less stress. You have them. If they perform, they perform. If they don't, you got somebody else.
Right.
So, it's again, the high and the low is how I would do it.
Yeah,
He's the middle.
well, he is the middle, so, okay.
Negotiate the deal.
I think what I
Okay.
would suggest is the cost of the paint is going to go up, of course, but let's just say like, if you guys are comfortable, just go to like 15,000, not to exceed 15,000 on their bid, and then I will negotiate with them, see if we can get it down. Or whatever number you guys feel
Buy
comfortable
one,
with.
get one half off.
There you go.
One get one half off.
Or a twofer. I'd like a twofer. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
not to jump ahead, but
Yes.
would you also suggest the same for exterior as well?
Oh, we're talking exterior.
We're talking interior right now.
No, I was
No,
talking
we were
exterior.
I think we've kind of come to.
The motion on the table is for interior.
I thought,
Just so we're clear, like, I'm fine if you guys want to skip, like, only pick one. The exterior obviously is in much more need
Right.
than the interior.
Right.
So if you would like to, the motion on the table, like, would you rescind your motion, or would you change it
I
to
can
say something?
rescind my motion if we want to do that. I can combine the motions, withdraw it.
I would say withdraw is probably the quickest, easiest.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my motion for award proposal for interior painting of the town hall.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a withdrawal of a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of said withdrawal, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, now back to exterior. Mr. Larson, do you have something you would like to?
So if we're just looking at exterior,
Yeah.
then I'd like to make a motion to award proposal for exterior painting of town hall.
Second.
So we have a motion, it's been seconded. The discussion now is basically which contractor we feel comfortable with.
and you said all.
Alvarez is what we're looking for. I can ask him if he would do the same thing, keep his bid if we change paint, something like that. So not to exceed 14,000, and then hope that works. If we have to come back and do a change order, I'd rather not have to do that, but.
Well, no, I thought we were just gonna do Dan's suggestion of solid stain.
Yeah, so,
Well, stain will always be the cheapest.
Right.
Once you get to the solid bodies,
Uh-huh.
because you're gonna end up back brushing it, so there's more labor. in it.
Okay.
You back brush either, but you can go faster, farther with a thinner product.
Yeah.
And so, speed-wise, if you wanna get it done on a budget,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna wanna go to like a semi-transparent, so they can just spray it away, back brush it and go. When you get into like semi-solid, now you gotta really brush, and there's more time and labor in that.
Okay,
Dan, what would you expect to add to cost
line,
with
right.
that? 30%?
I'd probably say you could somewhere with the labor, I bet you could be 3,000 or 4,000.
Okay.
Okay, so what would,
It goes more because you got gable bands, you got all the,
Right.
Fascia.
And then with that expense, does that equate to 40% longer life?
I don't know if you get 40% out of it, but I'd say you'd probably get 3-4 good years out of it.
As opposed to
I mean,
one?
how many years did you have in
Right.
this?
right,
I mean, it's, remember, when you go to semi-solid, as it gets older, it's gonna start to peel like paint. Right, so it's, semi-transparent stain is, just soaking in, and you're gonna end up with more look like this. But it's easier to rehab.
I will tell you that on my house, we did semi-transparent, and it did take several coats because it was so dry. This building is gonna take, if they say 2 coats, that's great, but it's gonna
You're
take a lot.
expecting more.
Yeah, so
A
if,
year or 2 years doing it again,
Yeah.
if you want it to look like something, elevated.
I'm just trying to
what if you just switch to
figure
paint?
out what we're doing here.
I know, me
well, full body paint is like to cover up, full body paint to cover up the cedar siding is an extreme step in my, like, that's why you have a cedar building. Did you want to see the rusticity, thank you, and.
Okay, and specifically like the Olvera's exterior bid, they said for, what did they say for? That's interior.
It's interior.
They didn't specify.
So you would have to specify 2 coats.
Yeah.
So again, why don't we just say with mayor working it out, not to exceed $17,000.
Yeah, that's,
Which is.
How about I'll put that out there?
So- Okay, so I'm gonna make something that's gonna just make it difficult. So, when these were bid out, was there specifications?
I know.
The
No.
minimum
No.
specifications, okay. So we're not even comparing apples to apples on
which
this.
really is.
Well, we said stain.
Okay. so
Stain
you
the
said
building.
Stain
Yes.
the building.
Yes.
So that was the specification, and that's what I think you need to, I'm not too comfortable with, all right, we have these 2 guys work it out, because there's the bid. If it's
I
an
know.
apples to
You're-
apples
Right.
bid and an oranges to oranges bid, and,
Then you
okay,
gave
then
it
we're starting to go
over.
off of reputation, then,
Then favoritism
you,
plays.
right.
Okay,
you
what-
go to the lowest
How-
reasonable bid.
How about we do this? Let's just have them bid it one more time, and we'll pick the exact product that we want them to use. And then by June 3rd, we'll be able to make this selection. So, I
So we'll
would,
give them more specific.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
sorry to do that to
Well, and I
everybody.
think you need to tell them.
So we'd like to put this back on the table?
Let's put it on the table one more time.
See, and I
was
said,
right.
don't take it off that table.
Oh, Kevin's here. Hi, Kevin.
Oh my gosh.
Another way you could do
It's
it,
Mr. Kevin.
right? If you just come up with a budget number that you're happy with, you could give it to Craig to take care of, and as long as it's below that budget number, you're taking care of it.
That's
Just
actually-
allow him to take care of it.
That's actually a really good plan.
I missed, sorry. I'm a slow processor,
So come up with a budget that they're happy with,
yeah.
and then allow Craig to go through the process of who's low bidder, who's the quality bidder, and as long as you're below that number, he doesn't have to come back.
As long as we have a solid enough understanding of what we think an appropriate.
Yeah.
I would say, Pro Finish is at 8 to 9. If we take that approach, not knowing, the cost of the paint's gonna go up, of course, the labor's gonna go up. But if we say 20,000 is the high end, and then we just ask, Craig to work it out, find the best person to come in under that, then maybe that's the best way to go about it.
But with 20,000, we're matching the Civic Center. What have we?
I mean,
I really don't know why the Civic Center even plays into this. I mean, both buildings need paint.
No,
and-
I just meant size. That's all I was saying.
size-wise, was she,
Yeah,
how the prices could be
Yeah.
the same, because the Civic Center seems so much bigger.
yeah.
That's
Could be less.
Could be
paint.
easier,
easier.
Okay.
I would definitely say that this building is so dry. And I think that's probably,
Multiple coats.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably been,
2+.
so I'm sorry, I
Okay.
did not understand what you were saying.
It's getting late.
I know, your job sucks. Apology accepted.
She figured it out.
Okay, well, that's why I say whatever everybody thinks is reasonable, because,
And then the only thing I say is, with certain contractors, and I know this, yeah, if you have the same company, can you squeeze the pricing out?
Yeah, well, and I feel totally comfortable letting Craig run with that if we give him
Yeah,
a not to
for sure.
exceed.
Dan.
Because he's gonna do what's best for
Yeah.
the town, of course.
Right,
So I'm just gonna give you my professional
Okay.
opinion.
Please.
we're ready.
And this is what I would do if they were mine. I would go and only do the posts and caps on the Civic Center.
'Kay.
And I'd let that paint stay for a year. The
'Kay.
paint over there, I walked around it, that's not that bad.
Okay,
This needs all the love you could afford to it.
okay,
If you were to say, even if you wanted to take a little extra out of the budget there because you're only doing the posts, and you came over here and you wanted to make this, at least look like something, you're gonna need at least 2 coats, maybe even 3.
It's
But
bad.
that's how I would look at it
Okay.
personally.
okay.
Well, we already,
So moved.
that's going backwards at this point, because we already approved the full
Yeah.
boat
But
over there.
you're
Well,
negotiating.
But
it,
if
so
you're
you could-
negotiating with the
so you-
same
So you could
company.
negotiate
Just the
painting it out
posts.
and just do the posts.
Counselor, what would you
That would
suggest?
be under 15,000, wouldn't it, if they're just doing the posts?
Yeah,
So then you don't have to bid it.
okay,
So I'm not worried about it. Get that 15,000 threshold, that's when I start getting
But you don't have to bid any of it because it's repairs and maintenance.
And isn't also the threshold 35,000?
And we did,
Well, let's just look at the statute, it said 15.
okay.
I don't know, maybe I'm defining it as a public work,
I'd like to call for a vote.
so.
At this point, I think what we need to do, what is the actual motion on the table at this point?
Right now, the actual motion is to award proposal for exterior painting of town hall.
Okay, so if you were to make an amendment, would it be,
We've talked about several options. One being to put it back on the table. Two, to amend it to, we could amend it to choose a specific, or to not choose a specific company, but amend it to have a specific ceiling target for cost, and then give it to Craig to make the decision. We could amend it to choose a specific contract, also not to exceed, and to have you work with him.
Of what?
Or I could withdraw it altogether, and we could go back to the drawing board of a new motion.
19.5. Sorry.
That's okay.
yeah, we're just trying to see if we could come up with, if 19.5 for that, oh my God. We could basically say 25,000 is our cap, and we have Craig, work, what can we get the beams done for over there and this building for? Is 25,000 enough? And then we're done for this year on this painting.
So then, Mr. Mayor, I'd need to and I'd ask council for this. I'd need to retract the motion that we earlier voted on for the Civic Center. That would be a motion to retract, because we did vote on it.
Right.
Right.
So then we'd need to retract that, and then we could combine all
Into one project.
into one project.
Yeah, motion to retract or to strike it.
Okay.
But then we're not picking, after all this discussion.
After all this
we're not
discussion, we're
picking-
not the pickers.
We're just gonna pick it's okay, we're gonna be comfortable
We're
with the
picking
budget
Craig.
number.
That's who we're picking, is Craig.
You do a motion to strike the previous vote.
Right,
It's a longer meeting.
And that doesn't need a second, does it?
okay.
Yeah, you need.
Would be the previous,
for
it'd be
motion to
two,
strike?
because the previous was to,
Yeah.
Okay, I second your motion to strike.
well, okay, so, but right now, we have a motion on the table, so
We should
if
probably-
that's the route we're gonna go, is motion to strike, then we need to,
Withdraw.
Let's
Withdraw
withdraw
this
this
current
one
motion.
first. Okay, that sounds.
so, make a, motion to amend, motion to withdraw my motion to award proposal for exterior painting of town hall.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor of withdrawing the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? None.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to strike our previous motion of awarding Alvarez Construction Paint Cleaning LLC not to exceed $20,000. That motion.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded, discussion. So just to clarify, what we're going to do, we're going to pull this one back, we're going to strike it, and then we're going to bring up a new one that we're going to find someone that can do the work that we want for both buildings.
A full umbrella.
Clear? Okay. So, any further
So we're not
discussion
gonna
on
make any
striking?
recommendation of who?
No, that's Craig's job. We're spending way too much time on this. All right,
Okay, it's a fun civic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It is a fun live civic.
okay, so the motion on the table is to strike the previous motion of awarding the painting and staining on the Civic Center. All those in favor of striking said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, now,
So the record will now reflect that.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I think the next motion should have some combination of not to exceed and get both the work that needs to be done over there and this whole building for a certain amount.
Yep.
Take it from there.
I'd like to make a motion to have Craig Leesburg, our maintenance, head of maintenance, what is his title? Public Works Director,
He's
Sorry,
got a
Craig.
demotion tonight.
Make a motion to have our Public Works Director choose a company for painting and staining the Alpine Civic Center's pillars, posts and
Perlins.
Perlins?
purlins? Purlins, thank you. Posts and purlins, and also the exterior painting of Town Hall, all not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Discussion. Great motion. Should have done that half an hour ago or more.
I think it was 45.
45 minutes ago. Any discussion?
It's a
Just
great-
make sure Craig has specifics. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, this is a great plan, I like it.
Thank you. You should have brought it up
I
45
should
minutes
have.
ago. All right, all those in
Kevin?
favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Yay. All right, now we're to general public comment. If anyone stuck around this long, you better have something to say. No?
Except for Craig, you can't go.
Steph says she's ready to go home.
All right,
That's what she has
no
to say.
public comment. Can I get a motion?
Make a
go into-
motion to go into executive session?
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are now in executive session. Thank you, everyone. Oh, geez. Thank you for sticking around.
A lot of that stuff, if you approve it in the budget, you already